Welcome to the first annual HBCU Alumni Business Summit. My name is Omar Muhammad, co-founder of HBCU by Association. And we also have my other co-founder, Ebony Gaynor there. Welcome to this particular platform. As I indicated before, I wish we were in person, but since we're not in person, we have this platform here to allow us to come to you for those individuals that are looking for information. And it's really about, how do we, and I'm just going to go through the slides, but let me pretty much set the tone for today. So we started at 5 and we're going to end roughly about 9 o'clock 9 o'clock. And I will be the timekeeper as well. So for those speakers out there, just keep that in mind. So I'm super excited to be a part of this initiative. You'll have some dynamic entrepreneurs coming on and sharing some tips and strategies for budding and existing entrepreneurs, whether you are a student or a representative in the community. All right, so with that said, we are at 5. We got time. So I want to go through quickly who we are and why we started this initiative. And I'm trying to see how to put this in mode. In present. There we go, present mode. Nope, still not in present. All right, no worries. So here we go. So, both Ebony and I have been working with small businesses for a number of years, and really micro businesses, those individuals who may have an idea and they're looking to take that idea to the next level. They're not small businesses, they're really micro businesses. So I've traveled around and I've run into a number of individuals, when they see me wearing something around HBCU or Morgan State, they say, hey, I went to Morgan, or I went to Hampton, I went to Bowie, or I went to Howard. And I'm like, wow, do you know such and such at Howard? Do you know such and such at Hampton? And they didn't know each other. So my job was to connect those individuals. And, as you think about going into business, you think about solving a problem. So how can we allow these HBCU alum to really build their business together? Partnership, whether you're in the state of Maryland, you're in California, wherever you are, there should be some opportunities for you to work together. So Ebony and I, we put our minds together and we came up with a number of items. So this is kind of an initiative that we're working on for 2023. And it's really building a platform for HBCU alum to work, play, and learn. So we're super excited about building this platform and the content that will go into helping HBCU alum find the best in them. And then we have some other activities. And Ebony, I'll just turn over to you and I'll let some people in.
Absolutely. Before I go over what our work, play, learn looks like and some of the activities we have going on, if you guys could go ahead and jump in the chat and just let us know which HBCU you are representing here this evening. So I'll give everybody a second to do that. And then I will start talking about some of the activities that we have upcoming. I'm not seeing anybody type in here.
There you go. I started it off
with
Morgan State University. I'm not shy about where I come from.
I know, because it's the Morgan State, right?
The Morgan State. That's right. I'm not shy about that.
Okay, I see University of Maryland Eastern Shore and Delaware State, another Morgan. Not the illustrious Howard University. Okay. Coppin and Bowie's in here. I see Bowie a few times. Okay, I'm excited. Hampton and Clark. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Bowie is in here, Omar. Okay. All right. Okay. So while you guys go ahead and continue to drop your HBCUs in the chat, I'll just go over a few of the activities that we will be bringing forth to you guys over the coming months The first one is our online video magazine. So no one reads the magazines that are put in your mailbox anymore. So what we're going to do is take the magazine format and turn it into an online video magazine where we'll have special guests come on once a month, and we'll do some resources for you all, let you know what type of activities are out there, HBCU related or business related. We'll have some information about different trainings. So a lot of good stuff will be coming forth with the online magazine. Our entrepreneurial training. Ooh, my eyes are going back. Thank you, Omar. Our entrepreneurial training through our co-authored book. So if we have any writers in our summit this evening, Omar and I are putting together a book about doing business as a small, micro, minority-owned business. This book will cover 15 different topics to help you go from conception to implementation. And we are looking for some subject matter experts to join us in writing this book. If you are interested and you want to learn more about this book, please visit our website where you'll be able to fill out a questionnaire and get some of our frequently asked questions taken care of to help you make the decision whether or not you want to come on board. Our continuing education with HBCU alumni. So everyone knows that you never stop learning. So Omar and I are putting together a platform that will allow you to continue on in your journey with learning to either expand your business. There'll be some things in there about financial stability, how to build your credit, things that are going to be a part of the training book that we're working on from conception to implementation. So there'll be a plethora of information that will be provided to that, throughout that platform from HBCU alumni. Our HBC tours and alumni symposiums. So these two events will happen annually. HBCU tours will happen simultaneously with the HBCU homecoming. So we'll be picking 3 to 4 schools every year to attend, and we will be providing resources while we're there. We'll be partnering with some of our HBCU alumni entrepreneurs that want to illustrate what they do in their businesses, and we want to highlight them. We'll be doing giveaways and a couple of panel discussions there as well. Our alumni symposium will cover a plethora of things. We'll be highlighting some of our new entrepreneurs as well as some of our seasoned entrepreneurs. We'll be doing what we have put together, which is called college showers. We don't want to give away too much, but that'll be in addition to the panel discussions and the workshops that will be at those symposiums. We also want to celebrate our entrepreneurs as well. And then our micro enterprise conference, which is near and dear to my heart, is simply a conference that is developed and implemented to bring forth information in the format that is needed for micro, small, and minority-owned businesses. So everyone knows conferences. You can probably go in your email and find a conference every week of the month for probably the next 6 or 7 months. But what we want to do is create a conference that is specifically driven to help micro, small, and minority-owned businesses. We want to have presenters there that are speaking directly to those type of entrepreneurs. We want to have resources available for them that are specific to what those type of businesses need. So that micro enterprise conference, our first one we're looking to do in 2023. Now that we've gone through some of the activities that we have going on, if you are interested in learning more about HBCU by association, please look us up in all social media formats: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also visit our website, which is www.hbcubyassociation.com. And if you have questions for us or you want to get involved, please feel free to email us at info@hbcubyassociation.com. And I'm going to turn it back over to Omar so he can help us get started with our first panel.
All right, good deal. Thank you, Ebony. Good overview. Again, this is some information how you can reach us. I mean, we're super excited about HBCUs. I was on a call today, and I pretty much said to the individuals that the word HBCU, but the letters HBCU have some meaning, and it's always had some meaning, especially if you've come from an HBCU. We always knew that that going to an HBCU has some type of impact. It had an impact on my life. Some of the entrepreneurs that I interviewed on the podcast, said the same thing. So HBCU, they just catching up. So we want to continue to move forward with, HBCUs and how we can empower entrepreneurs who are alum from HBCUs. So with that said, we gave the panel 1 minute, one more minute to your presentation. So we're going to bring up our next panel and our first panel, I should say. And it's all about the alumni associations. We really can't have this event without bringing on the alumni associations. So I'm going to turn it over to Darren Swain, and he's going to moderate this panel up until 5:50. So Darren, are you there? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, I know okay. I see Tiana and Leah. All right, while Darren is getting his camera.
And I'll just jump in really quickly, Omar.
While we're waiting for
Darren to come on, everyone that is here today, I know that you see the program that Omar is sharing with us on the screen. Everyone should have also received that program via email. So please feel free to take a look at that, and through that, there's some great information for you guys that you're able to keep at hand.
All right, thank you, Ebony. So turn it over to you, Darren, Tiana, and Leah. I'll be back around 5:45. That means you have 5 minutes to wrap up.
Okay, great. And first and foremost, let me just give honor to God for being here with you today. My name is Darren Swain. I am the president and CEO of the Bowie State University National Alumni Association, and I am so excited to be a part of this inaugural activity, and certainly something that I hope we will look back one day and talk about the legacy. So I don't want to take up any more time than I need to, but I like my co-panelists to introduce themselves and where they're introduce themselves and their schools and what schools they represent, so that we can then get into the panel discussion. And I will start with the one that's, I don't know who's furthest away, but I guess we'll just go with Tiana. Let's go with you, Tiana.
You always claim that I'm so far. Thank you, my frat brother, for allowing me to introduce first. My name is Tiana Wallop. I am the president of University of Maryland Eastern Shore National Alumni Association. I am also the president of University of Maryland Eastern Shore Southern Maryland Alumni Chapter Incorporated, proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And I have my one and only son at Morgan State University. In addition to that, I got my master's in mental health counseling from Bowie State University. So I pay my dues to both of my HBCUs. Thank you. And I guess if I may, I'll pass it off to my Delaware State University down the street president.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Leah Williams, and I am president of our National Delaware State University Alumni Association. Happy to be here with everyone. I am the youngest ever elected president of our Alumni Association. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. A little bit about Delaware State University. We are located in Dover, Delaware. I'm personally located in Maryland, so I'm very familiar with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore as well as Bowie State University. Grew up not far from Bowie State's campus. Our university was founded in 1891. We have more than 5,000 students, more than 43 undergraduate programs. We are the only HBCU to ever purchase another institution, as we purchased Wesley College last year. So I'm a proud Hornet. To us, we strive to make our mark on the world. So I'm excited again, and thankful to be here.
No, thank you, ladies, and I greatly appreciate this. I feel so excited about this because I think you cannot have a discussion about HBCUs and certainly entrepreneurship without talking about the Alumni Association. So like Delaware State and like the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, I didn't say too much about Bowie State, but we were founded 1865 at the corner of Saratoga and Calvert Streets in Baltimore, Maryland, in the basement of the African Baptist Church. And I want to talk a little bit about the significance of that a little later as we get into the discussion, but I don't want to hold us up too long, but I want us to really have a lively discussion because around this whole issue of the HBCU alumni associations, because here recently we know that everybody is in love with the HBCU now. Every corporate, anything and everything wants to have some type of connection and or allegiance with an HBCU. But we all on this call and certainly beyond know that it is the alumni of the HBCU that's the lifeblood of the HBCU. So what I like to do at this time is just to have my co-panelists just talk about your alumni association, your base, and just give us an overview of the what and how you feel your association has and is important to your institution. And we'll start with you, Leah, if you don't mind.
Sure. So our Delaware State University Alumni Association was founded in 1967. We just celebrated our 55th anniversary. I say National Delaware State University Alumni Association because we then break it down into local chapters, and we currently have 12 local chapters ranging up and down the East Coast. We are looking to expand to the West Coast and even establish international chapters. Currently, we have more than 700 financial members in our Alumni Association. And when I say financial, they're dues paying members. Everything that we do as an alumni association is directed specifically to give back to the university. And when I say give, and when people say give, we always think financial, but it's not only financial giving, it's giving our time, our effort, our energy, engaging with students. Our current term, this is my second year as president, and we're focused on outreach and engagement of our alumni. Outreach, trying to grow the Alumni Association, reach as many Hornets as possible, and engagement, making sure that those involved really enjoy their experience. Our Alumni Association is important to the university. First, the university's ranking is based off of alumni giving. And again, it's not just based off financial giving, it's based off of all different types of giving. And so our Alumni Association plays a big role in ensuring alumni are aware of the opportunities to give back to the institution. We also keep our alumni connected, make sure that they know the latest and greatest information about Delaware State University. We even engage with the students. Recently, we launched a new program to help prepare students for the career fair. We work with alumni to provide internships to students. We also have fun, right? Outside of homecoming, we provide a lot of events and activities to our alumni. So our goal is really to keep our alumni connected to each other and keep them connected to the university and give back and assisting the university in reaching its mission and goals.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so very much. And Tiana, I know you have some exciting things to tell us about University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Yes, indeed. UMES was founded in 1886. Our Alumni Association founded in 1947. And as a matter of fact, next month we will celebrate 75 years. Our Alumni Association also breaks down into local alumni chapters based on geographical location, as well as we have one affinity group. So our chapters extend from Baltimore. We have a Greater Annapolis chapter, Southern Maryland chapter, Southeastern Virginia chapter. Washington Metropolitan Area Chapter, Philadelphia Alumni Chapter, Tri-County, which is the three our counties on the Eastern Shore, Wycomico, Somerset, and Worcester County, New York City Tri-State, which covers North Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. And then Washington Metropolitan, that's DC, in your PG County areas. And then we have an organizational leadership affinity chapter, which is for the PhD students, graduates. So the importance, in addition to, serving our student hawks, our alumni, keeping alumni updated, the most important thing for me in this role is to make sure that the relationship between the Alumni Association and the university is a true partnership, that we ensure as an alumni that the university is, one, we know about the business of the university to make sure accreditations are in order, things like that, to make sure our history is preserved, to make sure that we are really instilling in the students the history, the HBCU culture. And I don't think people realize it as, presidents or staff come and go. If you don't pay close attention.
Wow. Wow. Oh, you about to start. Go ahead.
That history and those traditions will go right on out the door with them, right? Mm-hmm. And so, so in addition to serving our local communities and making sure that we're able to support high school students that want to go to UMES, if we can remove those financial barriers for them, we do that. When Leah talks about being the youngest serving Alumni Association president, that's the real thing. I am too the youngest serving president for University of Maryland Eastern Shore National Alumni Association. And, with change, we have to learn to change and grow as well. And so I just want to pinpoint that, because another part of our association is really trying to get our alumni to trust in us again as an association and trust in our university again. So, those are the true sticklers that I have, is to just make sure that we're in true partnership with the university and that we're paying close attention to what happens on our campus.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let me just add to that, while we are sort of starting this conversation off, is the reason that this conversation is important to and leading up into the conversations further into the summit is that the education of our alumni base, of a vast majority, I would dare say, there's a small minority that really gets it and understand it, in my opinion, but the vast majority sort of sometimes don't really understand and connect the dots with how and what the role of the Alumni Association is. So it's important that you have people like the representatives on this summit to come in and really explain and try to so what I've termed here recently as to reimagine the Alumni Association, right? Because in addition to making sure that we protect and expound upon the legacy of our institutions and those traditions and all those things that make us who and what we are as HBCUs, it's also important nowadays too that we expand on those things and push out and embrace our role as agitator and advocate in other roles, entrepreneurship, our advocacy in the community, on social justice and issues like that. And then also for those of us who are, for most part, we come from state institutions, right? And so because we're here locally in the state, we wear many hats as relates to the Alumni Association. Not only am I a graduate of Bowie State and an alum of the institution, right? But I'm also a taxpayer in the state of Maryland that is the largest contributor to the institution that I graduated from. So I want to make sure, to Tiana's point, that I know and understand the business of my institution. And I don't leave that hat at home when I become National Alumni President. As a matter of fact, even more so now, I'm going to pay attention to it because I want to make sure as alumni president that I educate my alumni base and that we make those connections with the legislature in terms of how it support, what it support, and what things are going on, and that the people that my tax dollars and your tax dollars, all of us on this line, and those that are in our various states, when the systems go out and hire these CEOs to come in and run our institutions, absolutely we want to support them because their success is our success, right? But it can't be done with what I would call certainly blind loyalty or anything like that. There has to be accountability when it comes to that. So our institutions, that of the associations, has to be reimagined in so many different ways. But on top of that, really quickly, and I'll wrap it up and I want to go into our next segment of the conversation, is that we have to realize that we are a collection of professionals. We come out of our institutions and we go into our corporate roles and we go into our nonprofit roles or whatever roles we go into, and we perform and a lot of times at the highest levels, right, and receive awards and things. So one of the things that I try to remind our association is that we have a responsibility also to come back and use those things that we've obtained, and acquired, those knowledge, skills, and abilities, bring them back and help to professionalize our associations. Most of them, like ours here at Bowie State, in its initial and its founding anyway, it was founded really on social. It was about a social activity for our founders. We were founded in 1939 and then came back together then in 1942. But it was based on the Teachers Association of Maryland, a model of that teachers group, right? Because we were a teachers college. And then for years we operated in that vein. But here recently, because of the explosion of professional graduates, there is a need and a desire, right, to move ahead and definitely reimagine our role. So that's one of the things I want us to now go to and talk about in terms of how you see the associations in all of what's happening on the landscape these days, with the HBCUs and people wanting to embrace us. What do you see as important, in addition to what you pointed out, Leah, the alumni participation rate, which is something that is so important to corporations, for foundations and other major entities that want to invest in us? They look at those rates to see, hey, look, what are you doing at home to help yourself, so that we can then justify investing in you as well. But as we have that discussion, ladies, I just want us to discuss, what is it about the Alumni Association and what roles do you see us playing in advancing the philanthropic and entrepreneurial aspects of our institutions? And start with you, Tiana, if you want to start.
Sure, thank you. So, for UMES National Alumni Association, dues for us, and I'll put it out there, is $30 a year, right? We're not out there to hit anybody in the head or anything like that. You can become a life member at $500 flat fee. And so sometimes I get the question, what do I get for my membership? And, and I tell people, well, primarily, you give back, for the love of the institution, because whatever we do, a certain percentage of what we do goes back to the university anyway. But when they begin to discuss, wanting to see certain things, well, we want these discounts and we want to partner here and we want to partner there. And this is what we want to see for homecoming and other events. And I tell them, I said, we've come a long way in the last 2 years with increasing our membership and our alumni participation. However, just like you said, Darren, these companies, these corporations, they want to see what our numbers look like, right? They want to know, if we give you this money, what is the return of investment for us? What makes it a true partnership? And anytime we are awarded with a grant or a sponsorship or anything of the like, when it's a win for the NAA, it's a win for the university because it ends up coming back anyway. And then to speak to Leah's point about it not just being about the money, so true. UMES has an alumni recruiter program where our alumni can train with the admissions and recruitment office to learn how to represent the university when a recruiter simply isn't available. And especially with the attention being so high on HBCUs, they're being pulled every which way. And of course, they can't make it to all of these events and fairs that they're being requested to show up for. So that's our way of giving back as well. We get our alumni certified and trained to go out and represent the university on behalf of our admissions and recruitment staff that can't make it. So unless you coming in at first, you don't really understand it. It may appear as though, oh, somebody just wants money from me. Well, no, there's a much bigger picture. And for the NAA, we have what we call Hawk Table Talk, where we can kind of dissect these things in a smaller group for those who want to hear it about why it's so important to be able to give your time and your talent. And then not only that, we have a responsibility to our student hawks, right? To model for them, to mentor them, to show them what their responsibility will be once they graduate, to support them. And I tell them they get, our graduating seniors get a free year membership. And I tell them, utilize that year to come join a meeting, network, learn who you're sitting next to. That may be the person that can interview you. That may be the person that can push your resume to someone else. That may be the person that can review your resume, sell you a house, have a connect with an apartment. Just use that to network more than anything in that first year.
Wow. Thank you, Tiana. That is, wow. Just in that statement alone, there's so many more additional questions, right, Leah? But I know that you have some additional information you want to share with us, because I certainly have something I want to bring back at the end here, but I want to hear from you. Yes.
Yeah, Tiona actually really hit it on the head. I mean, she made so many excellent points there. What I would add is it piggybacks off of really kind of what our previous question was, tied to us being really brand ambassadors for the institution. When we talk about philanthropy, there's a lot of companies out there that want to give to HBCUs, but it's up to us as alumni to represent our organizations and to be that example of, hey, you should give to my HBCU versus another HBCU for X, Y, and Z. We're still one HBCU family, of course. It's a win-win either way. But of course, I want funds to come to my HBCU over another. And it's key for us to utilize our networks, the organizations that we work for, the organizations that alumni work for, make that connection for our institutions and show them real world examples of why they should give to our institutions. And then I'd also just like to say it's important for alumni to join our alumni associations because we really are your voice on campus. We're better together. And when you're able to come to us, voice your questions and concerns, we can share that directly with the university. As members of our alumni association, we do provide a lot of benefits, but one key benefit is you get an opportunity to speak directly to the university, whether it's our president, Dr. Tony Allen, whether it's our athletic director or other departments at the institution. There's plenty of opportunities for you to do that. So just want to again encourage everyone to join the Alumni Association so that we can advocate for you. And that way you also are equipped with as much information about the institution when you are advocating for our universities.
Wow. No, and that's important. And I'm reading some of the questions that are coming up in the chat too. So we'll make sure that we, in addition to answering those as we type them in, but I want to bring them because there's broader questions that maybe people who are listening in and not necessarily on the chat can see and participate in. But the so many of the information anyway that was given is so relevant. Let me just say that our institutions and the role of the alumni association is so important. And I want to answer this question in the chat. So we have to help grow our associations because sometimes our associations, we're so used to doing things, quote unquote, their way, right? Which wasn't necessarily the right way, and it wasn't necessarily the professional way, but it's what people were used to. So when you come in and you try to change and embrace what we call best practices and things like that, it sort of ruffle people's feathers the wrong way and all that. And so we have to be mindful of that, but certainly press forward so that we can, get people to want to identify back, because our brand, as you said, Leah, our brand is only as good as we make it, right? And we're only excellent if we display and demonstrate excellence. I always, use examples. Some of my friends, they tell me, and it's so funny how they quickly identify other major institutions that they call it anyway as whatever that is, but some of these larger schools with healthier endowments anyway, and they say, well, look at and how I said, well, they're like that because the alumni in particular chose to do that. They chose to demonstrate excellence, and they want to get their corporations involved with giving back and all of those things. I find that with our institutions, and I can only speak from my experience here, is that we have so many people who want to sort of get involved, but then they sort of personalize it down to some things that aren't necessarily good for the organization as a whole moving forward. So we have to deal a lot with those aspects of our institutions, and we don't then get a chance to do like some of our larger institutions are able to do, is to go and make investments as an alumni association to create revenue generating activities as an alumni association. So it's not 100% dependent on alumni dues. That is just something you do. And then, as a matter of fact, they then eliminate the dues and then allow those revenues that come in from investments and other opportunities to fund the programming of the association. So some of us would like to move into those directions, but our alumni associations have to that point about the best practices, is to look out beyond what we're sort of used to and embrace some of those practices, because then some of us go to our majority white institutions and we get our master's degrees and things like that, and we automatically give back to those and then brag about how we give back to those institutions. I find it so interesting when I have my colleagues who do that. And so those are some of the things that are challenges anyway to us as alumni associations. But the thing that I want to get to, so that we can sort of keep this in perspective too, we have such value and resource with our institutions, and most of our institutions are in real growth modes at this point, right? Because I want to make this point so we can keep this conversation going. So in Maryland, we just settled this long-standing lawsuit that this year we are getting some of the funds in the budgets this year. About, I know for Bowie State it's $10 million a year for the next 5 or 10 years or whatever it is. And so it's opportunities for folk to for us to introduce new programs and things of that nature. I know you just mentioned, Leah, earlier that Dell State was able to purchase another institution. So you can't purchase another institution if you don't have no money. So somebody got some funds and things there. But with our institutions expanding, one of the things that has to happen too, and let's talk about this, how are we including our HBCU entrepreneurs, right, in this expansion process? You can't spend $600 million, $800 million of expansion of material building and all those things on your campuses, and I can't point to one HBCU graduate or one African American or one graduate of the institution, alumnus, that's not getting major contracts and things like that to help build, because it's only through those opportunities that they can then come back and stroke, right, a check for 50 million, 30 million, and do sort of what our dear friend Mackenzie Scott did, and give to HBCUs on that level. So let's talk about that. So how do we see that happening, and what role do we think our alumni associations need to help in terms of advocating for some of those types of things on our campuses and with our alumni?
Well,
Do you
it would
want-
be, well, we definitely want to see our alumni entrepreneurs succeed as much as possible, and especially tie them to the university and so they can grow and then give back like that. What I would challenge those in the audience and those that listen to this recording is you have to spread awareness when you're an entrepreneur so that know of you and we can connect you to the institution. I feel like sometimes we're just not aware of when alumni are starting their businesses or where they really find that niche and they can assist the university. So I think we're definitely for it at Delaware State University. It's some of the growth that we've had. We've utilized contractors who are alumni to help build on campus. We plan on continuing to do that. But as this next generation of alumni comes up, we have to become aware of you and your talents so that we can assist you in getting those big contracts.
Yeah.
Thank you. As our alumni association grows, I think that those are the things we will run across as we connect. Over the last 2 years, I mean, we've done a fantastic job with identifying alumni and getting them connected and finding out just what they're into. And what I get frequent I guess, inquiries from alumni that want to do things on the campus. And I do my due diligence in connecting them with the correct person at the university level to do that. So as we continue to grow, that's something that I will take a deeper look at. But for the alumni that I am aware of that are entrepreneurs that have talents to be able to share with the university, I do directly connect them. I am also big on using alumni that have their businesses whenever we're doing something on campus, homecoming, things like that. If you have a great work ethic, your business is in line with what we're doing. But I have one caveat. You got to be a dues paying member. I can't see tossing you all of this money, right? And giving you access to the market that we currently have if we can't get $30 out of you, every year, or your life membership. But I'm a firm believer in supporting our alumni before going outside. I mean, if we have to, we will, but other than that, I'm looking for alumni first to say, hey, let's utilize your talent. And then even if it's doing an event for us, we're still putting you in other people's eyes so that they know how dope you are as well. So that's that would be my response.
Right. No, and I appreciate that. And the reason I, bringing that up is that we have to, our associations are, I know for me, it's 100% volunteer, right? So it being 100% volunteer, you can't volunteer somebody to do something that they don't want to do, right? And you can't fire a volunteer. I mean, they are doing it because they want to do it. So one of the challenges, and goes back to best practices, that we as associations have to figure out, how do we come together and share resources to create that professional back office so they can support our growth and expansion and our abilities to reach and support our alumni base. I think that's one of the things that, as a walk away from this conversation, we have to sort of, embrace and challenge, ourselves on. And that's just one of those things. The other thing that we have to make sure, that we do is the alumni of our institutions, just the three that are on this line, are state institutions. And I want to make sure that I bring this back up to Omar and to hold on, Omar and what's the young lady? Okay, is it Leah?
Ebony.
Ebony, yes, and Ebony, I'm sorry. So one of the things that you got to include in this scenario is the engagement of the legislative process, right? So often we leave that out of some of these conversations, but guess what? If the legislatures wanted to close our institutions down tomorrow, it's a vote and they could. And we don't spend time in figuring out and creating opportunities of engagement in and around that, right? Our alumni bases in our states, right, are the biggest advocates in the barriers between those things happening. It can either help you greatly or it can hurt you if you don't engage that. So I think that's one of the challenges that we have to do as alumni associations, is figure that aspect out as well. And so, ladies, what I want to do is just to give you, each of you, like a minute or so. If you could just do a closing statement and challenge with the Alumni Association, I would greatly appreciate it. And then I'll just wrap up at the very end here. We'll start with you, Leah, if you want to do that.
Sure. So just thank you all again for the opportunity to be here and help spread awareness of the importance of our alumni associations. For any Delaware State University Hornets on the line, please connect with us. We want to connect with you. We want to keep you connected with the university. You can contact us on social media. All of our social media pages are DSUAA. Our email address is dsuaa@alumni.com. Dues are $50, but again, we want to contact you, connect with you, so we can keep in contact and further engage with you. We want your feedback. So just thank you all again for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Am I up next? Thank you. I'd also echo Leah. Thank you all for tuning in to hear our panel discussion. Thank you for the Hawks that I have that came to support. The Hawks that I have here are also leaders within their chapters. They serve on the executive board, and I have pretty good Hawks that even when I need them to step outside of their role to handle other things for me, they're always down. They're very supportive. So thank you for the Hawks that are here. I would challenge all HBCU alumni. If one person knows something, share it with 5 other people, right? Let's help to grow our alumni associations. Do this out of your love for your alma mater. Just know that if we don't have a home, there's no homecoming, right? So please get involved outside of homecoming. Join your National Alumni Association. Don't say you didn't know, you didn't have the resources. Don't hold on to information, share it. Let's all grow our alumni associations.
Yes, thank you, ladies. And I will just close in saying that, our institutions have in terms of entrepreneurship and in terms of philanthropy, it goes back to really the founding of our institutions. Most of them have a connection with the African-American church in particular, right? And it was through those connections and through those donations and contributions, through the congregations and through the volunteer service, that a lot of the members of those congregations in the communities, they lent their labor, they lent material, they lent all of those things necessary to help our institutions get started. Nowadays, we have to make sure, as you just said, Tiana, and certainly as you made reference to earlier, Leah, is that our challenge and our responsibility and our commitment has to be that we look and we use our resources, we use our talents, gifts, and abilities to help sustain and push forth our institutions. And the entrepreneurship role that that's at the center of this gathering here today is going to be one of those areas and those ways that we can do it. We have several prominent entrepreneurs that have come through Bowie State that are doing extremely well, that are giving back to the institution, but we need more. And we got to learn that whole the importance of the philanthropic way, because when we study and we want to be like some of these other entrepreneurs that have gone to these majority institutions, that's exactly what they do, because they understand that in order to sustain their way of life, you have to institutionalize your way of life, and that's through your higher education institutions and things like that. So I just want to say thank you, ladies, for your participation. And as always, we encourage all of our HBCU graduates to pay your dues, to pay your lifetime dues. Nowadays it's the same amount as a night on the town at the club, believe me. And and we think we are so much worthy, or so much more worth an investment than the club. So ladies, thank you. And Omar, Ebony, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this platform, and for your inaugural way to have us as panelists on it. We are now a part of history, and we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So, Darren, as always, you always come through. Leah is our only member on our council. We need some more members. So thank you, Leah and Tiana, for the work that you're doing as well. And you all share some impactful, it was an impactful talk. So just imagine that if we begin to, well, we're already doing it. We continue to connect HBCU alum who are entrepreneurs, connect them together where they're building their businesses, because anybody can start a business, but we need to begin to start, operate, and scale those businesses so that we can now say, hey, we have an alum that contributed, let's say $1 million. I mean, that's still a lot of money to the university. So just imagine if 20 to 30 alum are starting to do that. And we can't do this without working with the Alumni Association. And I appreciate you all coming on and sharing, the impact that HBC, and I saw some comments in here, people about to renew their memberships, become lifetime members, so that's great. Let's continue to do that. And on the flip side, yeah, like I say at Morgan State University, we've done a lot of building, but this is Omar's views. We're the Black folk. We're the alum, and we have some alum that can do that work. I know it's a state institution, but there are procurement opportunities where that can happen. So thank you all for the work that you're doing. We really appreciate you as well. And if people want to reach out to the panel, I believe in the guide we left. Well, if you want to reach out to them, if y'all want to put your email addresses in the chat, that will be appreciated. All right. So as we transition to our next, I'm going to share my screen. All right, so that was the impact of alumni associations at HBCUs. Ebony, did you want to say anything before you on mute?
Of course I was on mute. Thank you all for, as Omar said, a very impactful discussion. And if you would, please stay on for the remainder of the summit, because I'm sure as we continue on in the agenda, there may be some questions that you're able to answer quicker and more resourceful than we can. So please stay on.
All right, good deal. All right, so we're gonna go to our next panel. So if Maisha and Mike, if you could come to the floor. There we go. We're gonna get started early, because Mike is I think he's in sunny California, about to fly down to Dubai, and then I think he's going to Paris. So we want to get him in and out. All right, you all ready?
Ready to
We
rock.
hope so. Big shoes to fill now.
All right, well, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm also will help moderate this particular panel as well. So let's start off with this. The title of this particular workshop is The Importance of Entrepreneurship for HBCUs and Alumni in Business. So I scratched the line through that, and I'm calling it SOS. How do we start, operate, and scale? Building off of what the Alumni Associations talked about, how do we start, operate, put those systems in place, and we scale so that we can make our businesses stronger and then contribute back to the alumni, to the Alumni Association and to the school that make them stronger as well. So Maisha, let's start with you. Then we go with you, Mike. If you can introduce yourself, tell everybody about your business, and then we'll just have some conversation.
All right. I just want to say that I am a HBCU legacy. Without my parents meeting at Cheney University, I would not be here.
Okay.
And I have multiple cousins and relatives who have graduated from Tuskegee, Morgan, Florida A&T, all over the place. So my businesses, I've had 3 businesses that I run. One is MaishaLemonadeStand.com, and that is what I started before I even knew what I wanted to do. An entrepreneur blog, which can't wait to write about this. The second one, my bread and butter and where I make my money is customer first marketing. And I kind of do what I'll talk about a little bit later. I help businesses with their marketing platforms, processes, and then the creativity of campaigns from getting from an idea to market. And my last business, which I will be celebrating a year, so I'm looking to the scale up conversation, is QBob, which is a Black-owned brand marketplace. And that is my passion project. And that's how I bring all of my expertise and my desire to unify us, to get us together, to grow together, all under QBob.
All right, good deal. All right, Mike B, you up?
Well, great. This has been a great platform, and I appreciate you extending the invitation, for me to be a part of this. I'm Michael Bazemore, proud graduate of Bowie State University, and I'm listening to Darren Swain. I mean, he was just a phenomenal gentleman, and I remember the first day he stepped on the campus, and he was as sharp then as he is now, 30 plus years later. So just really proud of that journey. I guess I would classify myself as a serial entrepreneur. I'm a real estate investor. My health and wellness company, Infinity Global. We're a global company where, basically, working with self-motivated, hungry entrepreneurs as we take, hemp and health and wellness around the globe. And what I'm excited about, my more recent project, and you and I have talked a little bit about it, Omar, is my ebook that I have. And it really speaks to a lot of what we'll probably talk about today. How to Profit in a Pan-Session is the name of that book. And I'm playing on the words pandemic, recession, because you got to know how to navigate in those waters. And what I'm building around that, and this is what I'm excited about, is a coaching program, because you can give people information, but now they need a roadmap, so I'm excited about, what we're putting together, what we've been able to do. And I'm more excited for what's to come. So, back to you, buddy.
All right, good deal. And if you have any questions for the panel, just put them in the chat and we'll address those. So, I know we had one title, and it's basically, I know it's basically the same thing, because y'all super smart. Y'all went to HBCU, so if we could just start with oftentimes people say that they want to start a business and they jump into it. I know, when I work with individuals, people often talk about the cake lady. This lady, she works for a corporation. She makes good cakes. She started taking them to the office. People are saying, man, you should create a business. And she go out and create a business. And then they come see me because they need to figure out how to get out of entrepreneurship trouble, if you will. So let's start with starting a business. I mean, what are some of the things that individuals should consider as they are going out and thinking about starting a business? So we'll go through the SOS, starting, operating, and scaling a business. And then the audience, if you have any questions or you have any tips, jump right in. So let's start with, what are some of the things that individuals should think about? So we're going to go with you, Mike B. Let's start with you.
See, I was ready to be a gentleman and let the lady go first.
Well, I know, but I wanted, since you were looking at me, I said, Mike, you're going to go, just like in school.
So, I guess the way I would answer that question, Omar, is, like anything is really making a decision and committing to that decision and understanding that when you make a decision to start a business, as you approach it, it really is different than a 9-to-5 job. It really is a different type of mindset that goes along with it. I tell entrepreneurs that, a lot of times we get fixated on the how-to, but 90% of the business is the mental and the emotional intelligence and the things that you deal with as you encounter, issues or challenges and being able to move through that. But all of that starts with making a decision and making that commitment to that decision, understanding that as soon as you make it, it's going to feel like the weight of the world is coming down. Everything that could go wrong would go wrong, but that's where the mindset and the emotional intelligence comes into play, and realizing that, I tell people, if it was easy, everybody should be doing it.
Yes, sir.
But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But it definitely requires, the commitment to that decision.
Oh man, Mike, you hit it right on the nail. And it's all about that mindset. I mean, especially for the last 2 years, nobody could have predicted that there was going to be this global pandemic and businesses were going to shut, and some of them were not going to reopen, or others have said, you know what, maybe I need to shift and do something else. And it's all about that mindset. What type of resources and tools do you use to get your mind right and keep it right? Mental health is a challenge, not just with entrepreneurs, not just with grown folk, but with youth as well. So, I mean, I'm glad you stated with mindset. And that's why I went with you first, Mike, because I knew you were going to talk about mindset and getting your mind right before you go. Maisha, what do you have to add?
Well, since Mike talked about mindset, I'll talk about the processes and checklists and all that stuff that you need, not to be successful, but to start. So the one thing that when I'm meeting with a client and they're just talking and they're excited about their ideas and their mindset is right, I send them my website, which has a business model canvas. Which allows them to break down all of these wonderful ideas into little sections: target market, channels, potential revenue, all that stuff. It's not a business plan, it's a model. That helps you think about all those questions that you have in your head about how am I going to get this done. The other thing I send them is to score. And now I'll send them to your website, because I'm sure you have all these lists of things. What you should do, an LLC, self-employment, whatever the business structure. Because with the mindset, if you want to start off right, you want to get your processes right as well. And the last thing is get a mentor to help you walk through all of those questions. Now there's hundreds and thousands of coaches, but if you can get a mentor who's been there for you, done that, and can help you with those questions, I think the starting point is there. So your mindset, the business model canvas, and your processes, and you're good. You'll be good to go for starting.
Absolutely. Mike, you wanted to add something? Like you got that serious pose that.
No, I love what Maisha said. And as soon as she started, it reiterated, when you're starting a business, you got to have a team, and the detail that she talked about, everybody doesn't have that attention to detail. And it's great to have somebody on your team that covers your weaknesses. So as she started, I'm like, yep, that detail, the nuts and bolts, to make sure that foundation is set properly before you start adding and building onto it. So that's all. When she started, I was just like, that's it.
Yeah. So I hear this new thing, and Ebony and I, when we meet on a monthly, weekly basis, we come back and we hear this thing that entrepreneurs or people who are thinking about getting started, coming to me or coming to her saying, I need to get my LLC. So that means that they need to go out and get their business. But I'm like, okay, there are other legal structures out there, not just an LLC. Now, do you all hear that a lot, that I need to get an LLC?
I do, but I did an LLC because of taxes. And I need to, this is another thing you'll learn, paying yourself under your business. And I'm a solopreneur, so I need to insulate myself against my personal and my business. Another key thing to think about is separating. How do you go to business and separate your money from your personal money? So I did LLC for personal stuff. So yeah, that's my only advice.
Anything you want to add, Mike?
Yeah, are we assuming that people are starting from ground zero, right?
Well, no, they start from ground zero and they're hearing, I believe on, some type of show that, I need to go get my LLC. And that's the start of my business without really knowing. I mean, so the LLC is the catchword, so
No,
let me do my LLC.
And that's why I asked, because to Maisha's point, a lot of people do gravitate to an LLC because that's the buzzword, the catchword. But the point that she made for me that's more important.
You went on mute, Mike. There you go.
I'm sorry, there we go. The point that she made that's more important than the structure is understanding the separation, because you want to set up an entity. A lot of people say LLC, but it could be an S Corp. It could be a C Corp. That's part of the team where you have that accountant that's basically understanding your business model and then advising you on the best business structure. But whatever structure that is, the key is that structure insulates you from the business so that if somebody looks, they don't make a mistake and think that you and the business are one and the same, but that entity along with that separate bank account, and as Maisha said, as well as paying yourself from that entity, all of those are steps that continue to reinforce that it is a standing and good standing, separate entity, separate business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michelle, said this is work. Yeah, entrepreneurship is work, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur, it's work. So that leads me into the next one. And, we're going to have our impact talk, a 10-minute impact talk for Dr. Tamara Lucas coming up. And then Kavette is going to talk more about, growth beyond me. I don't want to steal their thunder, but I am going to ask this. I should say, and I asked this question about now that you've started something, and I think you were leading to this, Maisha, too. What are some operational things that you can do to really help you out in business?
Well,
if you don't have a partner or employees.
Well, first of all, because we're in the spirit of HBCU and entrepreneurship and unity, get a partner. Let's just use me, for example. I don't know accounting. I don't know the law. I don't know accounting. I know marketing. I now know how to run a business. I know customer service. So you really do need to find, and hopefully within this HBCU by association, your network, right? We cannot do this alone. And yes, we work 24/7, but sometimes that's 24/7 helping to develop other people to run our business. So operationally, once you're at the starting gate and you got your business model, you got all that going, the next thing you need to do, once you get that sale, that delicious feeling of your first sale, is find partners that can help you. I grew customer first marketing purely on 1099 and subcontractors. One, because I brought in people that I trusted to do the job. And we together collectively did work for the client, because I don't know everything. And I know I don't know everything. So the more that you can scale by bringing in other people with expertise, the better. And while I say that, because I've been going through people partnering, get contracts in place. Do not go into business with your best friend, your cousin, your fellow alumni, unless you have a contract in place. And that's part of that, bringing in your legal team of how we're going to work together. So scaling, when you are ready out of the starting gate, the next step is bringing in a team to help you get this work done that you hopefully have so much to do.
Absolutely. Yep. Good point. So you're talking about employment agreements, not, no, it's in a contract, but employment agreements between, you and the 1099 person, or you and your co-founder, or anybody else that's
anyone that you're working with. My girlfriend just called me today with another business idea. I don't want to tell you. Okay, send me an NDA, because this is business. It's not girlfriend talk. Send me an NDA, non-disclosure. Thank you, Michelle. Non-disclosure agreement. And I am legally bound not to talk to about anybody. And she said, but can I trust you? Yes, but this is business. This is business. So get the stuff and write them.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add to that, one of the greatest books I read years ago when I started out in business was The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yep.
And that book talks about systems.
Yep.
And the importance of having systems in place. And the one thing that I would share with anyone looking to start a business is part of the reason you want to start a business because somebody put it in there. You're not doing it to create another job. You're really doing it to create some type of leverage to get you out of that day-to-day grind. So in the beginning, it might appear as though it really is that day-to-day grind. But if you're really incorporating systems, you know, Maisha said, having the independent contractor agreements with other folks that are doing complementary or providing complementary services to help you leverage them and their talent while you grow your business, then all of those are key parts for that operational or as we transition to the scaling part. But that we keep mentioning that term solopreneur, and that my mindset just can't get there because that means you're just trading your job for a worse job. You know, if you're self-employed, you know, because there's a difference between a business owner and someone that's self-employed. Now in the beginning, we're excited because we got our entity, we you know, so we're self-employed. But it does feel arduous because you're working harder because now everything you have depends on that business succeeding, you know, but as quick as you can move to putting systems in place, as quickly as you can move to the leveraging and just, you know, even scaling your business, you got to scale it mentally before you can scale it financially because you got to go through the phase of being uncomfortable to become comfortable with that new target that you're setting. Because the only way you're going to get out of the day-to-day, you got to outgrow it financially, which is going to force you to put people and things in place to leverage and grow your business. So, but yeah, I love where we're going with this, man.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something about self-employed. So I'm just reminded of the cash flow quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. You know, he talks about going from employee to going self-employed to having a business and then creating systems where you're an investor. You know, we definitely have to make sure that as we go out and start or while we're in business, you know, continue to put those systems in place so that the business is not going to outgrow you. You know, it's not going to outgrow you before you can really outgrow it, if you will. And then how can we, you know, as we are growing these businesses, how can we then move to the next level? And that is scaling to really begin. I want to kind of shift it to the HBCUs now. You know, both Maisha, you and Mike were on the podcast. You know, how can we now shift it to scaling the business and then working with HBCUs, especially alumni associations? How can we work with them to begin to contribute resources to them so it can go to the students? But on the flip side, like I said, when, you know, as they wrapped up, we want to make sure that it's really all of us working together to empower the HBCU as well as working with the small business owners. So let's first start with the scaling piece first. You know, so what are some strategies for scaling, and then go into the HBCU association, alumni association? How can we work with them?
Me, you want to start with me? So
Well,
I think
Mike wants to start with you.
okay, go ahead.
Well, no, Mike wants you to go.
Okay, so let me be very honest with you. I was all set with my speaking points, and then the first panel has completely changed how I look at things, and that's how quickly it happens, right? Yeah. So the one thing that stood out was leveraging the resources of your alumni, especially the entrepreneurs. So Scaling your business, to me, that means me, and I think I just read it in the chat, trusting others to go with your business. So that we go back to the partners, now we're talking about hiring, and now we're talking about making sure your technology is up to point. And now we're talking about making sure that whatever business you have, it's ready for the growth, right? So it's ready for you to take a step back and do other things, which I'll be doing with QBot a little later in the year. This is my first business where I'm not profitable, which is scary. I'm taking big risk out there because I believe in their dream. And I'm hiring people and firing people who don't believe in the vision. So to me, scaling is, and I think I've just read it, being able to trust that you put the systems and processes in place for your business to grow without you being there 24/7. Now, how does that work? That's when we talk about going to the HBCUs and the Alliance and the entrepreneurs that are there to leverage that network, right? I just did, when I was preparing for this, my customers have come from Xavier, my customers have come from Hampton, Spelman. I was like, oh my God, I was looking at them like, I have leveraged my network and I gave back to my alumni and I was part of that. And I want to be there when the next success comes in. And I think I forgot who said, Tiana said it, making sure that our alumni knows what we do, how well we do it, and advocate for us is the back and forth that we have to bring back to our HBCUs.
Yeah, good points, good points.
So, so let me try to remember. I should have wrote this down. Maisha said belief and uncomfortable. I'm gonna come back to that. But where I want to start is she said things shifted so quickly listening to the earlier panelists. And I couldn't agree more. It affects people differently. It convicted me. All Darren did, he said everything except mention my name. Mike, you need to be more involved. So I'm a transparent. It convicted. I'm like, all right, I participate through my my gospel choir from Bowie, but being more involved. And here's the reason. Here's the reason why. We got to bridge that gap because as entrepreneurs, we understand both things. We understand that the college experience is one of the greatest experiences of our life, but we also understand that most people are trying to make a living in the past. They're trying to attempt to do something that no longer works. The reality is there have been different ages that have come along, and the industrial age was where getting a college degree was introduced. That was 1750 to 1950, because the workers that were good workers were encouraged to get their degree so that they can become managers. But as we move through, and now we're entering a partnership age, we're entering an age, and this is where bridging that gap is so powerful, because we're entering an age where for the first time, trillion-dollar companies are saying, we don't want to give you a job. They're saying, put your products on our site and we'll give you a lion's share of the money. Now, that goes against what we're taught a little bit in colleges that don't have that bridge of the entrepreneurial world and taking what we learned like my degree is in accounting. I didn't learn that it was over 5,000 pages to the tax code to take advantage of from a business perspective. I learned how to account for other, how to do the financial state, for those other companies. So it's even to that. So I know we're talking scaling, but for me, this is all important, because then, when we're talking scale, man, but I need 2 parts for this. Let me wrap this up. So, the scaling part, and this is me, my mind is all over the place because it's so important. And as much as we love our HBCUs, you don't want us to be even further behind of the times that are changing. So that's why I love what you're doing in being a bridge to bridging that gap to bring the entrepreneurial world together with the traditional education world, if you will. But scaling is about belief. It's about being uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable, and it's about trusting other people. But everything, and I started out this way. It ain't the nuts and bolts. It's your belief system. Everything about your business and scaling your business goes back to your belief system. The things that will always contribute to your belief system are the words that you use, the things that you listen to, because what we hear, the last three letters of the word here is hear. What we hear, it contributes to our belief system, our environment, all of those. When I'm listening to Maisha talk about growth and belief and being uncomfortable, you can't get to that place until you've increased your belief system, you've fortified and reinforced it. And that doesn't come from watching the news every day. That doesn't come from talking to folks that are naysayers. Your environment and all of these little things are so key to scaling any business. Is not the to-do list. 90% of it is I come back to it, is your mindset and everything that encompasses that, because as you stretch, once you stretch, Maisha can never go back to where she was, because once you stretch, you can't go back to that original form. And the only way you stretch is embrace the fact that my numbers are going to get bigger, which means I'm spending more money on marketing, and because I'm spending more money on marketing, is my mindset, will it work or it might not work? It's the margin is that slim, but that's where your belief, and are you doing the things to build your belief? Because once that's there, you can scale anything, because you've embraced the fact that it's going to be uncomfortable and that failure is a part of the process. Because a lot of entrepreneurs start out and they hit a snag and they go back to what was comfortable, but don't realize that in my biggest failures were my greatest lessons. And that failure truly is a part of the process. So I apologize. I know I was all over the place. I'm passionate about this. So back to you. I'm sorry, Omar.
It's all good, man. We got some nuggets from what you were saying, man. We got you, man. And one of the things that you talked about is that bridge, and I'm assuming that you're talking about the bridge from academia to entrepreneurship. When I was at Morgan State University, entrepreneur was a nasty word. Now, at these HBCUs, entrepreneurship at other schools as well, but we focused on HBCUs, is really about, startup, lean canvas, business model canvas. How do you create startups and grow them into billion-dollar businesses? So I believe at Bowie, and I'm not sure I know at Bowie, well, maybe I don't know. Darren, help me out with this. And all of the incoming freshmen, and he's going to come on, Mike. All of the incoming freshmen have to take entrepreneurship. Is that correct?
Right. So now, not just all incoming freshmen, but all students at the institution now have to have entrepreneurship, has to be a part of their approach to their major, regardless of major, you have to have. Now, it's not required that they have an entrepreneur plan yet.
Yeah.
But now what she's doing, and I really appreciate Dr. Bro for doing this, and to your point, Omar, is that what she's done is pushed in the entrepreneur mindset, and to your point, Michael, and to all of us. So she is now trying to institutionalize, right?
Yeah.
What individuals like Michael, like yourself, have done, and we have to figure that out. But with that, we also got to realize that entrepreneurship in practice, as we want to have it, it takes resources too. So it has to be money towards endowment, because we know that there are schools that major in entrepreneurship, they have huge endowments that give those students the resources necessary to make those mistakes, right? Yeah. With their plans and their actions and stuff. So anyway, Yes, Omar, that's what we have to do. We all of our students have to do that. You know, I'm excited too, like Mike. I'm excited.
That must be a Bowie thing. We appreciate that there, for sharing that. But so yeah, so the point I was making is, entrepreneurship now is becoming, as you say, institutional, or the thing to do now. With the incoming, freshmen, everybody at the university really is really involved with that. So it's great to see that. I would ask Maisha and Mike, from your standpoint, I know your story. When you were at the university, was there anything around entrepreneurship?
For me, no. I went to Hampton with the idea of getting a job and being able to take care of myself, and that was it. And I think was my parents' mentality, right? I think that's where our parents are like, okay, you need to go to school, get a job, go get your education so you can be on your own.
Yeah.
I'm helping my son think more entrepreneurial like. Yeah. Okay, well, you can have this while you're at school. So maybe when you are ready to graduate or after you go to the MBA, you have a business to fall back on. Yeah. It's a different mindset from when I was at Hampton to now. And I love it. I'm all in for it. I just want these new entrepreneurs, and if you're getting money from the school, to understand they're going to want a piece of that product or idea. And I think that's where the shift is coming. These HBCUs are now saying, okay, if we help this person get their idea off the ground, is that helping us with the revenues coming back from the alumni to our schools? Is that helping with the endowment? So I think the idea is new, but it's definitely getting formalized.
Yeah, for me, sorry about that. For me, when I was at Bowie, much to your point, entrepreneurship, it wasn't a bad word, but it wasn't an edified word. It really was about getting that education to get that job. Whether it's for us as accountants in that, with the big 8, when I was in school, that got dwindled down to the big 6, that was like the holy grail. And that was all that was put in front of you. And if you were looking to do anything different, oh, that's a little risky, stay this course. But so I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, so good points, and I'll just share, when I was at Morgan State, like I said, it wasn't we actually went to the provost's office and said, hey, you got to teach us how to run our own business, because my mother was running her own business and I took accounting because that's where, that's a major part of businesses is really understanding the numbers. So I wanted to know what the numbers were. So I had entrepreneurship opportunities at the university, and I think Kavette put in the chat that it's not just about, because we know everybody's not going to start, but not even be interested in entrepreneurship. But if they can think about entrepreneurial mindset, so they can go anywhere to work with, whether it's the federal government, whether it's an entrepreneur they can work with, because that's what I did. At the school, I work with a number of entrepreneurs and, to gain that experience and that knowledge so that I can, continue to do the things that I was doing. So Maisha, you also talked about something that's key. And I think this is one of the things that we can explore. And if you are at an HBCU, for those who are the attendees, if you're familiar with tech transfer and commercialization, I think we need to, as HBCU alum, really understand that and work with the universities if they have a tech transfer office to really look at the technologies that are either coming from the particular university, from the labs at the university, or here in the state of Maryland, we have so many federal labs here that they have these technologies on the shelf. They're just sitting there. So how can we begin to employ entrepreneurial mindset and thinking toward those technologies and do what we talked about? Start a business, put systems in place in operation, and then scale those businesses so that we can make our businesses stronger, but also make the university stronger as well. So just my 2 points. So tech transfer and commercialization, we should explore that as well. All right, so we're coming up on time. Any final thoughts? We'll start with you, Maisha. So if you want to give out your final thoughts and give people access to your website, or you could just put it in the chat. Actually, give it out because people will listen to this in the future. So if you can give out your website.
I'm just going to say as my final thought, most of our HBCUs were started by entrepreneurs. They were started by people who saw there was a need for African Americans to get educated, African Americans to learn a trade, African Americans to learn to read, African Americans to teach our children. So the legacy of entrepreneurship is inbred in us. The other thing I want to say is because we go to an HBCU and we see the president of the school, the president of the Student Leadership Association, the newspaper, the media, the radio, we see all of us doing these things. We already have the confidence that we need to go out and know that we can do it. So we don't have to be beholden to a job, a person, anyone. It's already within us. I think that's the legacy that HBCU brings to us as people. I wish most of the African Americans would go to HBCU, even for a year. You'll see a difference in how you approach the world. I'm going to post my LinkedIn because that's how you can contact me. I will post QBob because that's my baby. And I would appreciate everyone to take a look around, maybe buy something, because that's all Black-owned brands that I have sourced to bring together on one website. And I appreciate this panel, this event, everything has been great and uplifting and mind-opening for me.
All right, so Maisha, so what's the website for?
I'm going to post, it's QBob. If you do a search for QBob, K-U-U-B-O-B.
Come on now, people going to search all kind of stuff.
If you search for Maisha, you'll find all of my stuff. Digital marketing is my thing.
How you spell your name, Maisha?
I'm going to post it in here. Don't worry. I got you. But I do want
to listen for it in the future.
Got it. The website is QUUBOB.com. That's my Black-owned brand marketplace. And my LinkedIn is Maisha B. Hoy, MAISHABHOYE.
There you go. And we want people to be able to find you or go to, where your products and services are. All right, Mike.
So I'm going to be ultra brief right now. And this is what I would close with. As kings and queens, there is already greatness inside of us. When I think of entrepreneurship, I'm reminded of Black Wall Street, and that was built on entrepreneurship, back in Ohio. And that really is, as Maisha alluded to, the core of what got many HBCUs started was that entrepreneurial mind. I would just say in this season, we're entering a very unique time in not just the students' lives, but all of our lives. And one of the keys to being able to navigate through that is understanding and embracing that if we continue to do what we've always done, then we can't expect to get any different results. And as things are changing quicker than a lot of times we can make a decision, hopefully the conclusion most of us draw is that this is definitely a season where we've got to have more of an open mind, because a mind, much like an umbrella, doesn't work if it's closed. So we've got to have a more open mind and look at and do things differently, even if it feels uncomfortable, because now we know that those moments when we feel uncomfortable, we're actually growing. That's part of the process of God answering those prayers that you prayed for, And now it's time to take that step, to step out on faith. And as far as folks reaching out to me, I won't leave any websites. My social media platforms, all of them are Michael Bazemore. Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok. Bazemore spelled B as in Bob, A, Z as in zebra, E, M-O-R-E. If you go to any one of those, particularly my Instagram, I've got a link tree that connects you to my different websites and the different things, but Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok. And Omar, it's been an honor. As you know, I got to leave as soon as I get off, but this is absolutely incredible what you're doing. And if there's anything I can do going forward, you know, I'm humbly grateful to lend a hand wherever possible.
All right, so I'm just asking everybody to connect. I see some people in the chat connecting. You know, this is a great opportunity for all of us to connect with one another and to figure out a way to support and help each other operate, because, you know, most people have already started their business, operate and scale their businesses, because that's when we can begin to really make the major impact, not only for our lives, our family lives, the community, and most importantly, I should say most importantly, and give back to the HBCUs. I mean, I'll just say this, you know, on the next 4 years, I would love to see HBCU alumni entrepreneurs, even if it's 10,000, it's 5,000, just give it back to the universities. You know, right now there's other individuals giving back. And I think Darren, on that panel, they were talking about the, I forget what it was called, alumni participation rate. Yeah, let's increase that participation rate so that we can begin to be in control of our own destiny. So thank you, Maisha Hoy and Michael Bazemore, really appreciate you. All right, so we rolling. We rolling. So we ahead of schedule. We're gonna bring. Oh, she jumped right on. She didn't give me a chance to introduce her. So one of the things that Ebony and I came up with is what we call the HBCU Entrepreneur Alumni Impact Talk. We call it HEAT for short, because we definitely gonna bring some heat with these talks that we're gonna do, not just here at the HBCU Business Summit, Alumni Summit, but we're gonna do this around the country at other HBCUs. So we're really excited about that. And you all have the guide there, and we're going to talk about growth beyond me, and who else? No other than Dr. Tamara Lucas. You know, we do something here in Baltimore called Growth Beyond Me with some women business owners, and she's done some incredible work, and the work that she does with the Cube co-work. She's also a professor at 15 different universities, it feels like, and she also is the co-founder of the National Association of Mom Entrepreneurs. So with that said, Doc, I'm gonna let you go, and the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, right? So
10 minutes. You see me at 9 minutes. That means it's time to wrap up.
good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Tamara Lucas. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Cube Co-work, which is now the largest Black women-owned co-working space in the United States, and we provide on-site babysitting services inside of our co-working space. And as Omar mentioned, I'm also the co-founder of the National Association of Mom Entrepreneurs, where we provide entrepreneurship resources, education, funding, and support for mom entrepreneurs. I'm also a proud Coppin State University alumni and professor. So it's all HBCU pride over here. But as I talk about growth beyond me, I kind of want to talk a little bit about my story with the Cube Co-work. So 8 years ago, I was a mom balancing my consulting business and my family, and also helping other mothers create businesses as well. And so we realized that no matter where we came from, no matter our household income, or honestly the color of our skin, we are all dealing with the same thing as moms, and that's that mom guilt and that opportunity to know how to balance your family and your business. Unfortunately, there were no places in Baltimore or in the state of Maryland that will help cultivate that the opportunity to grow your business as a mother. And so I decided to come up, well, actually, I had an epiphany one night while I was asleep about a co-working space that provided babysitting services. I enjoyed co-working spaces, and there was just no space that really you could bring your child and actually feel comfortable. And I thought of this like, well, we have this option at the gym, but can we have this option in co-working spaces? And so I called my sister one day and I said, hey, I have this brilliant idea. We're going to be on the cover of Essence magazine. We're going to revolutionize the way that people actually work and how they co-work. And so we did a year research, and we took a year to find the perfect location for our co-working space. And we ended up in a 1,200 square foot building that was extremely old. I always say it was an ugly duckling. And my sister walked in and said, what are we going to do with this? And I said, don't worry, I have a vision. Just, believe in me. And that she did. Well, I am super excited that through a pandemic, through bad attempts to get investments, we have been able to grow beyond what I can even imagine. We are now 15,000 square feet. We have 17 offices, 3 meeting rooms, an event space, and a space for our babysitting services, and of course, open space for our co-working members. And how did that growth actually happen? There's a lot of things that people don't tell you about around entrepreneurship. I always get people say, hey, can you help me start? I heard this earlier. Can you help me start an LLC? And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean you have a business. Let's sit down and talk about the foundation of what you're trying to build here so that you can live your ideal life. And for me, my ideal life is laying on the beach and making money. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do any work in the next 7 to 10 years. And so I designed a model that will allow me to do so, and not only allow me to do so, but also allow me to replicate it and allow others to replicate it, because I can now sell that model. So what we did, I'm going to give a few strategies that we took. The first thing that we took strategy is really planning out, what does our business look like today? What does our business look like in 2 years? What does our business look like in 4 years? And then we had to decide, well, what resources do we actually need in order to get to what we're trying to accomplish? I will tell you this, my vision 8 years ago is nowhere near what my vision is today. But I wouldn't have been able to accomplish those things without a great advisory board and mentors. I also failed to mention that we bootstrapped our entire business. Until this day, we still haven't received any investments. And so to be able to accomplish that as a young Black women, Black moms in a city like Baltimore is honestly unheard of. So there again, we created that strategy. We also had great mentors, but we believed in ourselves. And that's number 3. We believed in what it is that we were capable of doing and stayed focused. A lot of times people will tell us, oh, you should be more like WeWorks, or you should do this, certain things that just didn't align with what our mission and our vision was. And we stayed true to that. And I want you all to remember, whatever your mission and whatever your vision is, stay true to it. You are going to get advice. You are going to, you should have mentors and you should have advisors. But at the end of the day, always remember, why did you get started and what is it that you are trying to accomplish? The fourth thing that we did was we realized that we could not do everything ourselves. While I am great at a lot of things, there are a lot of things that I do not want to do, and there are a lot of things that I am not good at doing. And so we had to make sure that we establish a team internally and externally to execute things that we are not capable of doing or we don't have the bandwidth to do. As an entrepreneur, you'll find yourself trying to do everything, and you can't grow or scale a business by yourself. And that was something that we had to realize very early on. We also had to take strategic bets on ourselves. And what does that mean? We had to put our money where our mouth is. And so that means making investments and really believing that it was going to have a return on our investment, and making sure that we were networking with the right people. To be able to grow into a 15,000 square foot space, if I told you all that I named my own price for the actual lease of this space, you probably wouldn't believe me, but I did. And that was being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right people and being consistent in the work that we were doing. So if someone sees that you are consistent, they are more willing to open opportunities to you because you are consistent. And the last thing that I will say that took us the growth beyond us, is having the proper systems in place. Our entire co-working space is literally managed through multiple systems that does not require us to do a lot. Remember, it is a big investment sometimes up front, but it's going to save you a lot of money and it's going to save you a lot of time. And nothing is better than having automated systems in your company that doesn't rely on human capital in a world where the great resignation exists. We all know finding good help is very, very hard, and finding help that understands that you know what you're doing and your vision is sometimes difficult as well. But making that investment in people is not a bad thing. And that's something that we pride ourselves on with our team. The team members that we started with 6 years ago, some of them are still with us today. And that's because we treat our people right and we do right by them. We also make sure that they understand the functions of our business and how their part plays into the success of our business as well. So that's my TED Talk. I don't want Omar to come in and get me off the stage like we are on not Soul Train, but Apollo.
And let me correct, this is not a TED Talk. This is Heat.
Heat Talk. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's all good. It's all good. Well, thank you for that, Dr. Lucas. We really appreciate that. And yep, I've known Dr. Lucas for some time, and I remember. Yeah, I don't know if you were a student. Were you a student when I first met you? No, you weren't. No student.
No.
Yeah. You were grown. You were grown.
I was.
We definitely appreciate you, and you know what she did mention is, and I'm gonna mention it for her, that she and her business partner, they have the largest. You say it because I like
the largest Black women-owned co-working space currently in the United States.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank
you. And
you.
if you could tell them where the website is, you can put it in the chat as well.
Absolutely. So please join our mailing list, because one of the things that we're launching very soon is a new community membership that means that anybody anywhere can be part of our community, but they can take advantage of the resources that we have available. So you can go to our website. It is the Cube Cowork, and that's the Cube, CUBE, cowork.com. Please follow us on Instagram, at Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and TikTok. We are on TikTok at the Cube Cowork. I will put it in the chat, but please connect with us. Like Omar said, we host these Growth Beyond Me workshops every last Tuesday of the month with different topics, and sometimes we have pitch competitions. So this week we hosted a Growth Beyond Me Women in the Beauty Industry, and we gave out over $3,600 in investment to some entrepreneurs. So you never know what's going to happen, but it's always great information. It's a fireside chat with an expert or experts, and it's a great way for you to network and build your community. So please come out, and there are more events that we'll be having throughout the month because we have an amazing community manager now that's putting those things together.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Really appreciate you coming on board.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, we're ahead of schedule. We're going to continue to go forward. So Kavette, if you can join us. So we're going to expound more on growth beyond me. And we're going to actually go in. Well, we're going to actually have Ebony. Ebony is going to join us. Well, I'm going to disappear. So it'll be Ebony and Kavette talking about growth beyond me. So if you all, Dr. Lucas really focused on her story, but of course, definitely tell your story. And then if you can focus on, how do you grow beyond yourself with customers, maybe in a contractual way or strategic alliances. So does that work for you all? You on mute, Kavette? You still on mute? All right. Well, I'm gonna disappear. So up next we have our first workshop. First workshop is Growth Beyond Me. So I'll turn over to Kavette Minor-Kane and Ebony Gaynor. And if you have questions, put in the chat and we'll respond to those.
Okay.
So Kavette, I'm going to let you start off.
Okay, well, thank you so much, first and foremost, for having me here, Ebony and Omar. This is quite a privilege to be able to speak on this platform, and congratulations for your inauguration of the HBCU by Association Summit. So this is right up my alley because I am a financial liberation expert. I'll introduce myself first. What I do is I guide my clients on their journey to self-sufficiency by teaching emotions affect our money management so that we're able to make better decisions, create better habits, and experience a greater quality of life. I do that through financial planning, business strategy, and mindset coaching with my clients. And so one of the things that I have found in business, because I am a solopreneur, and most people are when they first start out, you've got an idea and you want to turn it into a business, but you got to be a solopreneur first because you got to do the work. I made a comment earlier in the chats about the 80-20 balance. And I learned early on about being able to have that, putting in the brunt of your work or the majority of your work on the first 20% of your business in terms of time, but then the other 80%, because you've done that work up front, then you're able to do what Mr. Bazemore was talking about and set back with that 20% of the work where you have already established a team and you've got folks that you can work with. And that's where we're talking about the growth beyond me. So I believe that business is better when we work together. For myself, I have always dreamed about being an entrepreneur. I went to Morgan State University with the idea of being an entrepreneur, looking to learn about how to become an entrepreneur, but there was no entrepreneurial major at the time or any classes to take in terms of learning about entrepreneurship specifically. So I switched my major 3 times in my first year. I started off with a business management major. And then I switched because that wasn't, specific enough or executive enough for me. I went to business administration and I was like, I like the classes, but it's still not giving me what I need in order to become an entrepreneur. And so then a friend of mine suggested that I switch over to finance because, well, if you're in business, you got to know about money. Just like Omar said with the accounting, if you don't know how to count your money, if you can't keep track of your coins, you're going to go out of business real quick. And 90% of businesses fail in their first 5 years because they're not calculating properly or managing their money well. And so in my business, I've actually started this one with the concept of mindset and money management being the focus through my financial planning and education. And so been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I've worked with a number of teams in that process. I have also been an employee because I've used employment as leverage for me being able to grow my business. And we often have to do that. When you're starting out, you may not have all of the funds that you need up front. You know, you're bootstrapping, you know, you are figuring out how are you going to pay for your marketing and how are you going to, you know, work out paying for the CPA who has to do your taxes for you. How are you going to get your bookkeeping done on a regular basis when you're going to take that time? And what we have to recognize from the very beginning is that time is money.
Yeah.
So your time, somebody else's time, either you're going to take your time and lose money because you're not able to do the work necessary in order to earn your income or generate revenue, or you're going to pay somebody else, which is going to be an expense for your business. And so you've opened your mic, so I'm going to stop right there.
Oh, no, I was just.
No? Okay. Wasn't sure.
No, absolutely. Okay. If you have,
so, yeah.
you know, go ahead and pour it all out.
Okay. Yeah, I got plenty on this. So even as a solopreneur, and no man or woman is an island, you know, we don't really work alone. Even as a solopreneur, you have to partner with your vendors, and you may hire different people to be contractors. As was mentioned earlier, I think Maisha spoke about that because that's something that she does in her business, where she does the marketing, and she's able to support you in getting the structure that you need, you know, by providing the templates and being able to create that solid foundation to build on. One of the things that I do for my clients in my financial planning, I mentioned business strategy, which means that I do business planning as well. So in that business strategy or business plan, I'm identifying your marketing, your operating, as well as creating your financial reports. And so we're putting all of those plans together to create the ideal or understanding of what your dream looks like. Being able to identify that is absolutely essential, because if you can't tell what, you know, your dream or your business will look like in 10 or 20 years, then why would an investor want to give you money today so that they can lose it overnight? You know, and so you want to make sure that you have that done. And, you know, I've heard some people say, oh, it's a waste of time. You go to the bank and they don't even look at it. Well, it's not for the bank. It's for you. It's for you to have that process understood completely from beginning to end. And yes, I do mean end. That means being able to have an exit plan as well. And that's a portion of the business plan that I introduce to most people, and they've never even heard of it. Like, what's an exit plan? Well, you got to know what you want to do or what you're working for in this business. You're not just, you know, building a business to be building a business. That's like a hamster going to run on the wheel. You know, you're not getting anywhere, you know, but you've got to understand what you want. And I'll tell you, it was a challenge for me and understand, or I learned that it's become very significant to me, I'll say, from a very personal situation. My father passed away a few years ago in 2018. And when he passed away, he was a double business owner. His idea was that he was going to have one business that he was growing to be able to, you know, scale up and sell it off. And the other business he wanted to be able to scale up and pass on. However, he did not make preparation for either one of those things to happen. And so in the end, everything had to be dissolved, sold off, and neither one of those businesses exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the reality is that this is real, folks.
Yeah,
this is not just a hobby. If you're doing something where you're, you know, just doing it for fun and you know, don't care whether or not it makes an impact or a difference on the community, great. Have fun with that. But if you are really building a business and you want a solid foundation, something that's going to be able to be carried on to the future, then you really have to consider what are your real plans, what are the real dreams looking like, so that you can create that reality of your dreams and then be able to see how that plays out. But you've got to have a plan in place. If you don't have a plan, somebody else has a plan. You know, and usually, especially in the event of that you know, pass away or lose your life, that's going to be your local government, your state, and even the federal government has plans for what they're going to do with your stuff. And so that's going to be either through your inheritance process and understanding the inheritance laws, the taxes that go along with that. And then on the federal level, of course, understanding your estate laws and the parameters and taxes and things that go along with that. So understand as well, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, I'm not giving you any financial advice here. This is just simply for education, but you need to speak with a CPA and get the advice that you need to make good, smart, solid decisions about your tax strategy, because it can save you money or it can cost you a whole lot of money. One thing I didn't know, but I learned through the passing of my father, is that you're going to pay taxes after you die. And so if you don't have anything in place, it is going to cost whoever's caring for your final affairs, your estate, whatever inheritance you have, is going to cost them. They're going to have to pay those fees and to make sure that that's taken care of, or the government will come to take it from the estate or from that person as they are the manager of the estate. And so understanding that all of that is absolutely essential things that we need to think about at the start of our business. We need to know where we want to finish. And I look at it as though we are writing a script for a movie. If you understand how those, frames are put together, they start at the end of the movie with what is going to be the outcome here. And then they work their way back all the way to the beginning, creating the scenes and the characters and understanding the storyboards and being able to put all that together. That's your business plan is your storyboards. Your business plan is how you play that out. Go ahead.
So in saying that, how often in your line of work do you find that the ending is changing? And how do you assist your clients in redirecting that change?
I haven't had a lot of clients who have changed. I'm working with a lot of folks who are just at the beginning of their businesses.
Okay.
I've worked with clients who have an idea and wanted to see what that's going to look like. They're going for the investment money. Worked with a larger client who is looking for investors to come in to be able to support the project. And then some who are looking for grants. You want to have a business plan put together, because when you put in even grant applications, people think it's free money, but free is not free. You still have to do the work and you have to provide the proof, because they want to know what you're going to do with that money, how it's going to be spent, where is it going to go, and what impact is it going to have on your business after they give it to you. And if they don't, deem that you have, responsibly allocated where those funds are going to go, they're not going to give you the grant. And so that's why the business plan has to be put together the way that it does, so that you can convey that. And what it does in that process is I support my clients in building the confidence so that they understand how to speak about their business and they're able to talk about those ins and outs. So like you imagine going on to, Shark Tank? Or one of those shows where they're asking, what are the numbers for this? And, what is your revenue? And what is your profit share? And, what is your market spread? And, who is your target? And all of those things. We need to know those things. And so we have to go through the process of doing the research and really understanding how to speak about your business as more than, oh, it's just something, I started doing as a hobby and I kind of like it. And some people from work told me that I should start this business. And so here we go. And that's where a lot of people start. But hopefully by the time you've gotten your business plan done, you'll be able to say that, this is where you've chosen your market to be, because that there is an increased, demand for whatever your product is, and that you'll be able to expand, once you're able to get into that marketplace. And this is how you plan to expand. This is, whether you're going to be brick and mortar or you're going to be virtual, how are you going to work that, and understanding working between states, working between cities, and being able to manage your contractors or your employees and your vendors all in that mix. And so there's several different things that need to be considered in that process. And so that's what I work with my clients to do. And that's where the growth, I encourage them to think about this business as being bigger than themselves. I'm also a licensed life and health insurance agent. And so I work with my clients in order to support them in creating generational wealth. And so that's another way that your business growth is beyond you. You know, it's not just about what you're doing now and today, kind of like with my dad's business. If he really had the resources and the time, really, because he had an unfortunate circumstance where he had a terminal illness. But if he had the time, I know that he would have put those plans together. I saw where he was in the process of doing that. He just process. And so that's why it is so essential for us when we start our businesses to make sure that we go through this process and that we take an opportunity to do the outline, to create the business plan with those structures and with the different information that we need in order to understand how we're going to start, how we're going to grow, and how we're going to finish. And so the objective is to accomplish the goal. I would say the goal is to achieve success, and then you have to define what that success looks like for you.
Great. Can we jump back just a little bit? I heard you say that you are a licensed insurance agent.
Yes.
In the business world, especially for micro, small, and minority-owned businesses, insurance, as with anything financial, can be a tricky thing for small businesses. One, because many of them are bootstrapping, you know, to start their business. However, insurance, as a business owner at any level, is absolute. So can you just talk on a couple of types of insurance that small and micro or any business should absolutely have?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start with, you are a business, period. So you should have life insurance coverage, period. And you should not have, well, you should have all kinds, I would say. A full portfolio of life insurance is really what benefits most people, but it's talking with an advisor to be able to understand what that balance looks like that helps you to know where to have it. That is temporary insurance in term, that's permanent insurance in whole life, and then that's permanent insurance in the universal life as well. The difference between the temporary or the term and the permanent is that there is a cash value account connected to those permanent insurance policies. What a lot of people don't know is that as that cash value grows, you can use it for whatever you want.
That's what I was looking for.
And that means that if you're planning to start a business, so for Maisha, who is talking to her son about being able to become an entrepreneur, she should have a life insurance policy in place for him right now, growing those funds. At 4%, it is a decent growth rate. You're only going to get 0.06% in a savings account from the bank. That's nothing, you know, and you're going to get maybe 10 to 12% if you do well on the stock market. But if you want to take that risk, you can also do negative, you know, on that. So, you know, the thing is, it's about the risk. What I love about the cash value accounts is that there's a zero bottom, so there's no risk there. You only have the growth, and your best friend is time. Because as you continue to allow it to grow, that compound interest is what's going to create the wealth for you. That is the interest that is beyond what you actually put into the account. And so again, using Maisha as a reference, if she wanted to have an account for her son, that cash value account would continue to grow while he's in college. It would continue to grow while he's in high school. And then through college, if he, you know, determined that he wanted to go and get a job, he could continue to feed into that. And that could even turn into a retirement plan for him if he desired so. But beyond retirement, if he decided that he wanted to open up his first business, then he has access to that money. It's different from any other account like an IRA. If you put any money in an IRA, there's stipulations, there are limitations on how much money you can put in there, and there's limitations on when you can take it out. You know, and you're going to pay taxes and you're going to pay fees if you take anything out early, but you're going to pay taxes in the end anyway. And we all know that taxes are not going down. So right. You pay them later, you're going to pay more. You know, that's what surprises most people when they get into retirement. They think, oh, I've got this great 401k account and, you know, this is great. And I've got this much money in it. And then they realize that they don't even have enough money to survive for 1 year. Because of the limitations. Now that account is still beneficial because you can get the free money from your business, whatever your employer is, if they're paying into it. That way, while you are entrepreneuring on the side, then you're able to identify what investments you want to make to grow that money for your business. So when you hit retirement, you can take that money, put it into some real estate. You can put it into, the digital currency. You can take it and put it into literally any investment where you believe there's going to be some growth. And of course, do your research beforehand, talk to someone who is a licensed investment advisor. I can't stress that enough. Not your aunts or your godmother's cousin from around the corner. No, we're not taking advice on what they think is going to happen or what they heard on, YouTube or anything like that. You want to make sure that you're very clear on what your goal is, because it's achieving that goal for you that is success. Now, somebody else's goal might be different. Maybe somebody else wants to get a 20% return, but all you need is 10%. When you get to that 10%, then that's when you start to work your money, and you take care of what you need to take care of, regardless of anybody else's ideas or perspective. And so that's why it's so essential that we take an opportunity to have a financial advisor as a part of our board of directors. As a solopreneur, I recommend you definitely have your CPA on your board of directors. You have your financial planner on your board of directors, and you have your attorney on your board of directors. Another person on your board of directors is your marketing person. And so Maisha loves that, I know, but plug for her, because marketing is absolutely essential. You cannot grow your business without marketing. And so being able to have those folks, even though you're a solopreneur, that's where you have to understand that your business is bigger than you are. And I think Mr. Bazemore spoke about it earlier, that, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner. An entrepreneur is when your business stops working when you stop working.
That's right.
A business owner is the person who can walk away from their business and it continues to run whether they're there or not.
Absolutely.
So while we start off as entrepreneurs, the goal for us is to get to the point where we are business owners. We can scale up, we have that growth, and we can create the platform and the foundation to continue to have a strong, stable structure and to grow for decades and even centuries into the future. And so that's why it's absolutely pertinent for us to think about the long term. And I love this because as a life insurance agent, I recently saw a huge change in the industry. So back in 2019, there was a mandate from the federal government that every life insurance company around the country had to change all of their policies that they offered starting in 2020. And so most of them started their new policies like October or November. They started fourth quarter, rather than wait to the last moment. And so what we saw was that they were shifting from one life expectancy table to the next. So there was a 2001 life expectancy table that now came into effect, and it was designated to in 2017 that by 2020, the life insurance companies had to create the policies to support this new life expectancy table. That table shifted from the previous life expectancy of 100 years old. And so now the life expectancy table shows that we're going to live into an average of 120 years old. That is not as far-fetched as it seems.
Oh, I know.
And I speak from personal experience. My babysitter passed away in 2020. And she was 107 years old, and she was walking around. She passed away from natural causes. COVID didn't have nothing to do with it.
Wow.
She was a very strong woman. And so for that, I'm like, okay, so 107 years for her. Well, 120, that's 13 years shy. The worst thing you could do is outlive your money.
Absolutely. Uh-oh. I think Kavat froze on me.
To support you while you're still living, so that you don't become dependent upon your family members, or you don't become dependent upon the government, in those kinds of circumstances. I mean, really, what would be your quality of life if now you're over 100 years old and you cannot provide for yourself the medical care, the food, the living conditions that you need in order to stay healthy and strong, in order to enjoy whatever life you have left? Because we as long as we're alive, we're active contributors to life. She had great grandchildren and great grandchildren who remember her. you know, and so for all of us, that's very important to keep in mind. As business owners, we are establishing a foundation for something that can go on to live for centuries beyond us. We see businesses around today that are celebrating their 100 years, you know, their 130 years, their 150-year anniversary in business, and they're able to do that because the second and third generation was able to manage and maintain those businesses. They were only able to do that because there was a plan in place. Much of that has to do with the life insurance that they had in place and the purchase in advance, and they were able to use that money to give the business a boost, which is why we often talk to business owners, especially partners, about key man insurance, being able to have policies that will support the growth of the business. If someone, you know, something unexpected happens, someone loses their life, then your business is not going to just go under because that person is no longer around, that key person is no longer there. Now you've got the money to replace them. You know, and there's really no nicer way to say that, because what happens when somebody dies is they're no longer there. You have to replace them. There has to be someone else who's going to do the work that they were doing to continue living on that, keep that business living on, excuse me. And so that is the goal, you know, for it to continue. The way that we continue to live forever is how people remember us. And so the question is, what are you setting up as the memory for you in your business? Are you establishing a foundation so that your business will continue to, and our founder was 150 years ago, Darren Swain, or, you know, was Lindsay Peel, you know, and being able to now, you know, be honored in that way, because
All right now.
Foundation for something that would continue to grow for centuries on. And so there are some simple things that you can do to get started in that process. One of the reasons that you want to have a lawyer involved is because that's where you're going to be able to set up a trust. You know, and we hear that word thrown around all over the place nowadays, but the question is, what kind of trust? There's so many different ones. You know, there's like 4 main ones. I'm not even going to identify them because it may not even apply to you. You've got to speak to your attorney in order to understand what your situation and circumstances are, in order to understand how they're going to evaluate and say, nope, this is the one that works for you. Maybe we need a family foundation. Maybe we need a business foundation or business trust. Maybe we need a personal trust. You know, what are you going to do? How many children do you have? Are you a blended family? Do you have his, hers, and ours? You know, it's who's going to get what and where's it going to go. But all of those things need to be planned in advance, because if you don't plan, the state has a plan for you. And they will take your stuff. They love when people work and don't have a plan, because then they get to take all of the profits and all the benefits.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have a question for you. You have a business owner that has an idea, brilliant idea. And if worked properly will, you know, take the roof off. But they have that's where it begins and that's where it ends. How do you coach them? Give us a very basic, if you will, simple coaching technique or idea that you would place inside of them to at least get the ball rolling, or to bring them in as a client, to land them as a client.
So the first thing that I identify with them are what their goals are. You know, what do you want? We have to write out that picture of what do you want the end to look like? What is your ultimate goal? You know, do you want a $1 million empire? Do you want a $1 billion empire? Do you want a mom and pop shop? You know, do you want to keep it simple and small? Do you want to work as a contractor, or do you want to be the one contracting? You know, being able to understand the scale that they desire from the beginning is then where we're able to identify the structure that they're going to need to support that scale. You know, and so identifying their time, identifying their budget. And budget is the first thing. Projections are absolutely essential. We need to know, you know, how much money do you want to make? And then how much money do you need to make? And then how much money can you make? So we've got to do some research in the marketplace to show what this industry is already turning over. If it's a new industry, then we've got to look at what are the opportunities for growth in that field, because there's a lot of places where folks are going now, especially in technology, where it's open field because no one's ever done it before. And so because it's something new, it's riskier, but you can find those investors who are willing to take the risk because they believe that as we continue to grow, technology is just going to expand and going to take them up to levels higher. And that's what they're looking for. And they're willing to risk because they have the capital to be able to do so. You know, they have those policies that are going to give them the assurance that they need. So if something happens in this case, it's not all of their money out. Nobody ever does that. They're not going to put all their eggs in one basket. So understand that. Even when you go to the bank is going to look at your net worth. And so we've got to identify, what does that look like? Where are your assets and your liabilities? If we're able to identify your budget, your current budget in terms of your income and expenses, then we're able to identify, okay, your assets and liabilities, what is your net worth? You know, and I'll tell you that an insurance policy will increase your net worth because of the cash value account that you've got attached to it and the death benefit. What they're looking at is being able to save themselves from the losses. They want risk mitigation. And so a life insurance policy provides that risk mitigation as well as a leverage for them in terms of collateral.
And so what do you say to someone that understands everything you just said and agrees with you, but they're just starting out, they're bootstrapping the business, and in their mind, getting the doors open is what's most important? How do I then afford to hire you to do what it is I know needs to be done at the same time while I'm trying to bootstrap this business?
Right. Well, you have to find someone who's going to be willing to work with you. You can find, you know, financial advisors at different levels, at different rates. I happen to be what I feel is an affordable financial advisor because of the plans that I put together for my clients. I realized that it's very expensive. My hourly rate, you know, is more than what most people, you know, want to pay in a day or get paid in a day. And so if with that taken into consideration, what I've done is broken down my services so that you can choose. You can choose if you want to get a one-time service and we just work together on this one project for a few hours. I do some work, you know, get out the projections or get out the reports and give that to you. And then you can do what you want to do with that. Or we can set up a membership plan where we work together on a monthly basis and I'm able to consult you on a monthly basis. You're able to come back with questions. I'm able to do some reviews and really come in and do the education. So my focus with my business is on education because I realized that that's what's lacking for most people. We want to be financially literate, but we don't yet know the ins and outs, the 1, 2, 3s or the ABCs of finance. And that's what's essential for us. Do we understand compound interest? If we don't understand compound interest as a business owner, then we're not making our money work for us. We're working for the money, you know, and that's the reverse role.
Absolutely. And so I think that we are getting close to our time, but I wanted, before we wrap up, the title of this workshop is Growth Beyond Me. Tell me how you feel about that title. What do you get when you hear Growth Beyond Me, and how does it resonate with you?
Okay, Growth Beyond Me gives the idea that teamwork makes the dream work. And so that means being able to, you know, as we started out talking about, even as a solopreneur, recognizing that you're not alone. It means opening the door to encourage those collaborations, joint ventures, and partnerships. You don't have to give up a piece of your business, because a lot of folks in our community are scared to give up a percentage because they want to own everything. You know, and it's like, okay, you can own everything of that little, you know, $0 business you own right now. And that's fine. Keep it, because you have a dream. You want it to grow. When it gets to be $100 million business, you still want to have 100% of that. But understand along the way that you may share some of those pieces in order to get the growth. Because if we're not willing to break down and share some of what we have, then we're not going to really be able to get the return that we're looking for. J. Paul Getty said it the best. It is better to have 1% of 100 people's efforts than it is to have 100% of your own. And so that is the growth beyond you. It is the growth beyond me, being able to recognize that I cannot do this by myself. I don't want to do this by myself. There's only 24 hours in a day. And with all of the work, I know even for me over the last 3 years, building More Life, it has been strenuous because, you know, this is the first business that I've started really solely by myself. I previously was married and, you know, and was partnered with my ex-husband in many businesses, but there was a lot of instability where that was concerned. And so for me, being able to create a stable foundation, I decided to do things differently. I wanted to make sure that I have a stable foundation before I bring somebody else in. And that includes putting those systems into place that Mr. Bazemore talked about as well earlier. That is what allows you to now operate your business from a remote location. You know, to go on vacation and know that you're not going to go out of business because the business stops working. You know, putting those systems in place. And so that's what growth beyond me really means. It means having the systems in place, the partnerships, and recognizing that your business is bigger than you. And so with that thinking in mind, my encouragement would be to sit down first and foremost and create your business plan outline with these initial things. What is your mission? What is your vision? Your mission is, what do I do? Your vision is, how do I do it? And then your purpose is, why do you do it? So we've got to have those 3 things in place. If you don't know what you're doing, how you're doing it, or why you're doing it, you're not going to stay in business for long.
I love it. I love it. I want to thank you first for coming on today and presenting. Omar, she didn't need me. I was really just a filler. If you can let everybody
thank you for your support.
Oh, no problem. If you can let everybody know how they can reach you, your website, any of your social media handles, phone numbers, whatever.
Absolutely. Well, if you can see the screen, you can see how to spell my name. I will tell you, my name is Kivette. I was named after my father. His name was Kevin, and his favorite car was the Corvette.
I love it.
Call me Corvette, I will answer. It's also my favorite car. So I am my father's daughter.
Awesome.
But you can connect with me online by typing in my name anywhere. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and a few other places that'll probably pop up for you. I do have my website at marimorelife.com. That's M as in Mary, A-R-I, M again as in Mary, O-R-L-I-F as in Frank, E, and .com. So when you're able to go to More Life, I've got a full menu of information. You could literally spend hours. I've spent years, and I have built that website. It's my baby, because I, like Maisha, love the marketing. That is like one of my fun things to do. And I'm very particular about, the way that I connect with people and the way that I present my business. And so that's something that we also have to pay close attention to make our business beyond us, understanding how to connect with our audience.
Awesome. Now, before we let you go, you told us how you got your name.
Yes.
You got to tell us how you got the business name.
Absolutely. More Life is actually, More is the compounding of 2 Spanish words, Mariposa Morena. And so that means the dwelling of the butterfly. Butterflies are my favorite animal, and they symbolize transformation. And so everything that I do is about transformation, and the life is a transformation of life, but the life also stands for living in financial excellence. And so it's transforming to live in financial excellence is what More Life means.
Love it. Well, again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Omar, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right.
Incredible. I loved it. Incredible.
All right, we way ahead of time, so we're going to go to our next person. So, as part of, Kivette talked about growth beyond me, and just a couple of things that stood out to me is, have that plan of action, get others involved in the exit strategy. What are you going to do at the end? So thank you, Kivette, for that. So when we talked about scaling your business, and with Michael and Maisha, one of the things that I purposely did not talk about is access to capital, because that's one of the things that as you scale your business, you'll need access to capital. So we're going to go back and do another heat talk. And let's say you want to come to, there she is, come on down. Let's say, Pill, you have the information in the guide. I'm gonna turn it over to you for 10 minutes. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Entrepreneurship is probably the most interesting major that we can study at our HBCU. You enroll in classes that you love, some that you hate but are required, and others, it just depends. It's challenging yet rewarding, but it also requires a great deal of time, energy, resources, and financial commitment, AKA tuition. It's comfortable if you're studying your favorite subject or providing the service that you love, but it's also uncomfortable when you are forced to step outside of your comfort zone to study, go to office hours, or even take your pre-quizzes before test day. When you have the right professor, it makes the learning experience even more palatable. But if you don't complete your homework, you miss the opportunity to use what you've learned in your classroom. Welcome to Business Credit 101. I am your guest professor, Lindsay Peel at Kingdom Vision Consulting University. Let's take a look at our syllabus. Here are your course prerequisites. Personal Finance 001. As an entrepreneur, your business financial habits are usually a mirror of your personal finances. If you don't know how to properly manage your income, pay your bills, and create a long-term financial plan, those challenges will typically present themselves in your business. Not to mention, as a business owner who typically owns 20% or more of the entity, you will be used as a personal guarantor for any major lender, CDFI, community development financial institution, and most alternative lenders. The second course, The Art of Storytelling 002. A key part of building business credit relationships that go unnoticed is your ability to tell your story as the founder to a loan officer, banker, or a representative at a lending institution. This person usually bridges the gap between you and your underwriter. If they do not understand who you are, what you do, and your ability to repay what you're asking for, they will not advocate for you. No matter what has happened in your past, be confident in who you are today and provide a compelling story that will provide a foundation of trust to get that yes. Networking 003. As an entrepreneur, you want and need options. While your banking institution should be a financial partner, they are not the only lender that matter. You have to be able to put yourself in rooms and initiate conversations with centers of influence that can become a part of your business village. Build trust with your bank, but also take advantage of the resources that your CDFIs have to offer. Yes, they do have access to capital, but they also provide what we call technical assistance, AKA tutoring support. If you have successfully passed your prerequisite courses, then you are ready for day one of this course. Your first assignment is to complete a personal financial assessment. This will provide you with the information needed to introduce yourself to your professor and classmates on your Zoom board. There are 4 key questions we would like you to answer. 1, what is the foundation of your financial mindset? Are your actions based on lack? Are you used to surviving and are struggling to channel your thriving capabilities? Has your environment conditioned you to believe that you are not worthy of a financial legacy? If so, we are acknowledging what has crippled us before, but we're also saying goodbye to that stinking thinking. You can create a different financial future for yourself, but you must believe that you can. Number 2, what are you financially bringing to the table as the business owner? Have you completed a PFS, a personal financial statement, that provides a glimpse of your assets and your liabilities? While to you, this may show you your net worth, but to a lender, this shows them your potential opportunities to provide collateral for the requested product. If you are a new business owner, you want to make sure that you yourself are an asset to your company and not a liability. Number 3, what is your personal credit score? Do you have a strong payment history? Do you know how to use different types of credit? Have you been conditioned to think that credit is bad? While cash may be king if you have lots of it, credit will always be queen and can get you into rooms and doors that sometimes cash can't always buy. If you are a business owner preparing to ask for business credit, you want to show that you can be trusted with other people's money. Will there be opportunities to get capital that isn't solely based on your personal credit history? Sure. But is that the position you want to be in forever? Having challenging personal credit will always cost you more money to access personal or business capital. Do not let your Instagram credit besties trick you into thinking that your personal credit does not matter once you have an EIN. Take care of your personal credit so that your business has many, many, many options for business credit. Number 4, how can you leverage OPM to build your enterprise? Prior to speaking with the lender, it is a great practice to understand your lending requests to determine which vehicle is right for you. Unsecured loans, equipment loans, revolving lines of credit, credit cards, net 30 accounts, and trade lines can all play a vital role in growing your business, but they all need to be accessed for specific reasons and at strategic moments in your business life cycle. You want to have foundational knowledge about what you need so that you do not get into the right product, but also so that when you gain access to that yes, that approval, you know how to spend your money strategically to make sure that you maximize on the return of that investment. All right, now class, now that you have your introductory assignment, let's work on getting you funded. End scene. Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay Peel, and you have just experienced our Heat Talk. I am the founder and principal consulting at Kingdom Vision Consulting. We are a financial services firm, very boutique, but we focus on CEO financial planning, specifically for entrepreneurs of color. We do that by focusing on 5 key areas of class. 1, credit worthiness, making sure that our business owners understand the importance of having phenomenal personal credit, but also understand the importance of business credit, how to access it, and how to use it properly to grow your enterprise. L, long-term wealth. We try to make sure that our entrepreneurs are thinking about their future. Are you retirement planning, right? A lot of us will use our old 401ks to roll over into the business, but we don't really take out the time, the intentional effort to plan to resave that money, right? To make sure that once we hit retirement age, we don't have to start scanning receipts at Walmart because we didn't save enough. Asset protection. Just like Ms. Kivette said, are you preparing your estate? How do you want your assets to be passed down? Do not let the state make those decisions for you, and do not let creditors come in and take everything that you've worked hard for. But another component of asset protection is making sure that you have proper insurance. GoFundMe is no longer sexy, never really has been, but let's be honest, our families are already mourning your loss. We don't want them mourning the financial predicament that they will be in as well. The first S, strategic banking relationships. Having a very intentional relationship with your financial institution is more than just being able to walk in, cash a check, make a withdrawal, say hello to a teller, and goodbye. It's about being able to have an advocate on the inside. Do you have a banker who gets to know you, who gets to know your family, where you come from, your business, your goals, your vision, but also your challenges, your financial fears? If you don't have them, you're missing out on so many opportunities internally within that financial institution, but also externally. That last S is strategic asset accumulation. Every entrepreneur knows how to accumulate liabilities, I promise you. But are we being very intentional with our dollars to accumulate assets that can make us money, that can work for us while we are sleeping? While you're building your business, do you have an asset that is producing some type of rental income? Are you seeing a return on any other investment based on the assets that you have accumulated? As entrepreneurs, especially Black and brown folks coming from our HBCUs, we also deserve a legacy of wealth. Every generation, we have to start over. It's time to put that to an end. I want to help you break generational curses. I want to help you feel confident in your financial journey. You do not have to do it alone. And let's stop scaring ourselves out of what our future could be if we took a bet on ourselves. Again, my name is Lindsay Peel. I'm the founder and principal consultant at Kingdom Vision Consulting, and it was my honor and pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for attending my Heat Talk.
Look at her.
I swear, Lindsay gives me chills every single time she speaks. Every time. I love it. Thank you so much, Lindsay. You
incredible.
A lot of information out there in your 10 minutes. So we absolutely appreciate it. And this, I promise you, will not be the last time that you all hear from Lindsay as it relates to HBCU by association. So thank you.
Thank you. And I didn't shout out my illustrious alma mater, Howard University. I am forever a Bison. I had the opportunity to also march with the Howard University Showtime Marching Band. So shout out to all of my Bison out there.
And give out your contact information. How can people reach you?
Yes, you can follow me personally on Instagram at LPeel, The Real Deal. You can follow Kingdom Vision Consulting on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Kingdom Vision Consult. You can also go to our website at www.kingdomvisionconsult.com. I look forward to connecting with you.
All righty, good deal. Thank you, Lindsay. Really appreciate you. All right, we have one more, and I don't see her. Latoya, are you there? Where are you? I don't see you in the panelists list. So if you're there, just connect with me via chat. Yeah, we're ahead of schedule. So while we where are you? Are you under the panel? Latoya? Oh, are you able to come on the screen?
I think you have to make her a co-host.
Okay, I don't see her in here. All right, I'm gonna go to promote. So hey, all right. So as we're bringing Latoya up, she's our last presenter, and just like we did with the first Heat Talk, Growth Beyond Me, we're now moving toward business credit. So Latoya is an expert on business credit. Where are you, Latoya? Come on screen so we can turn it over to you. Did I not let you in? Yeah.
I just promoted her to a panelist, so 1 second, she should be able to come on.
All right, thank you. Teamwork, yeah. And I'll make her a co-host so she can share her screen. There she is. All right, while we're waiting on Latoya to come on board, if you could just put in a chat where you're from. I know pretty much where the majority of the the panelists are, but just put in there where you're from. That would be great.
And if you have your own business, if you want to shout that out and your social media handles as well.
Yep, thank you for that. All right, Latoya, we see something.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. There you go.
Okay,
Got you.
I'm not sure what's going on with the camera. Hold on.
Yep, I made you co-host, so you should be able to do the camera and share the screen as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not showing the front. Hold on. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. Maybe I need to log out and log back in, but the front won't show up. It only shows my
Yeah, we only see the back of it.
where. Hold on.
Recorded. I said, let me. There we go. All right. There we go. So our last speaker of tonight is Latoya Jackson. She's going to talk about business credit. So Latoya, you have the floor and you're able to share your screen, correct?
Yeah.
Your co-host. Okay. All right. Well, I'll come back when it's about 30 minutes.
Wait,
35
hold
minutes.
on. It's saying
Okay.
one participant can share at a time. Am I able to change
Oh,
that?
who else is sharing? Who else is sharing? You got it now? One. Okay, let me do this. How about now?
Okay, let me try. There we go.
All righty. Floor is yours.
All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll go ahead and start. All right, hi, everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulties. My name is Latoya Jackson, and I'm the founder and CEO of Excel Capital Group, and I'm excited to talk to you guys today about business credit and funding. We talked a lot tonight about bootstrapping and, you know, having to do that for your business, but there are other options available to you. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So you are in the right place if you want to learn how to build business credit that's not linked to your social. If you're looking for funding to start, grow, and scale your business. If you want to know how to use business credit and leverage it, or how to properly structure your business to put yourself in position for funding. So maybe you've been rejected by a bank, you know, maybe didn't meet the bank requirements. Maybe you are tired of funding your business out of your own personal pockets, or maybe you are a new entrepreneur and you have no idea where to start. So my goal tonight is to show you how you can get up to $250K for your business. All right. So I'm going to give you a short introduction about myself, talk a little bit about capital in the economy, what business credit is, why it's important, the 2 different ways to obtain it, the 4 tiers of doing it with your EIN, and how big businesses use business credit. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a HBCU supporter. I had a niece that went to Howard, and all of my closest friends went to North Carolina A&T. Okay, so yes, I am an HBCU supporter, and I'm glad to be here to speak with you guys tonight. But a little bit about me: I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Very poor, raised by a single mom because my dad died when I was 2 from cancer. I went to the Ohio State University. I got that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in college. I'm sure most of you guys have read that book. And that's what introduced me to real estate, right? I really didn't know anything about real estate growing up. I didn't come from wealth. I didn't have any entrepreneurs or real estate investors in my family. And so that book introduced me to it. And I thought one day I'm going to get into real estate, but being a broke, poor college student, I had no idea how I was going to do that. So that dream was deferred. I did what they told us to do. We all talked about this tonight, right? Go to school, get good grades, go work in corporate America, and be happily ever after. So I did focus on business. My major was marketing, and I worked in corporate America doing business to business sales for 15 years. I worked for Philip Morris, a tobacco company, and then I worked for Michelin Tire Company, which moved me from Ohio to the DC area. And once I moved to DC, I decided to get my real estate license, and I worked with a lot of real estate investors. And that was the first time I ever heard of business credit, because they were using it on their real estate deals. They would tell me how much they want to purchase the property for, how much they want to put in rehab, what the ARV was. And I learned quite a bit by being an agent for investors. But make a long story short, I got a promotion. And so I moved from DC to Chicago, where I am today. And I didn't want to be an agent anymore. I didn't want to go back and take the exam. And so I decided that I wanted to be an investor, and I went to a lot of workshops and a lot of seminars. And within a 5-year period, me and my business partners, we raised over $2 million. And we basically did various types of real estate deals. So we did everything from fix and flips, buy and holds, mixed use commercial. We had an Airbnb, and we did some wholesale deals as well. So with that $2 million we raised, not all of that came from one source. So 300,000 of that was business credit. Some of that was personal credit. Some of that was traditional financing like FHA and conventional. Some of that was hard money loans. Some of that was taking funds out of retirement accounts to use towards investment projects. And some of that was raising private capital with investors and offering them a double-digit returns on our fix and flip deals. So within that 5-year period, I learned quite a bit about funding and fundraising. And one day I went to a women's empowerment event, and one of the ladies there, she said, "What is a DUNS number, and how can I use that to get funding for my business?" And in the audience, I'm sitting there like, yeah, I know the answer to this. But the CPA who answered the question, the guest speaker, she said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about a DUNS number. You just need a 700 score. You need to be in business 2 years. You need to have 250K in gross revenue. You need to have personal and business tax returns, and maybe a bank will give you some money." Now, I knew that that was not 100% true. It is true if you go to a bank. Yes, they're going to look at all of those requirements. But because of my background in raising this $2 million, I knew that there were non-traditional lenders out there that can help you get access to capital without all the strict requirements of the bank. Because when I first got in business, I was only in business 2 months. I wasn't in business 2 years. I didn't have 250K in gross revenue. And I was able to get 40K in business credit. So that's when I got the idea to start this company, Excel Capital Group. And it's really to educate our people on the other funding opportunities that's available to them. You know, most people really think that the bank is the only place that you can go. And there's other lenders out here who can help you get access to capital. So at Excel Capital Group, we do 2 things. We help entrepreneurs get financing. They can get up to 250K in 2 weeks. And we teach entrepreneurs how to build business credit with their EIN through our programs. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I really want to talk to you guys about funding, right? How frustrated is it to get funding, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, when I typically ask this questions, people will say 10, 6, 20, very frustrating to obtain funding. And when most entrepreneurs are starting out, 75% of them, they're getting funding from family and friends starting out, or they're using their own resources, right? They're maxing out personal credit cards, using whatever's in their checking and savings account, depleting their retirement accounts, right? They're using any and everything they got access to. And most people, 9 times out of 10, they don't know anything about business credit and what it could do for their business. So typically when you go into a bank, right, you got to have the 3 C's, right? Cash flow, your revenue, credit, your personal credit score, or collateral. Typically you need 2 out of 3 of those in order for you to get access for capital from the bank. But when it comes to business credit, you don't necessarily need all of that. So here are just a few facts about capital. And this was kind of before the whole COVID pandemic, right? 29% of businesses fail because they run out of money, right? 29% of businesses fail because they run out of money. Over 90% of bank loans are denied. So most people walking into a bank are not walking out of there with the capital that they need. And prior to the pandemic, a lot of traditional institutions would require some sort of collateral to back the loan, whether that was personal or business assets. And so it became a lot harder for new investors or entrepreneurs to get access to capital when they have very little experience. And so before we get into the 2 ways to obtain business credit, I want to talk about some key takeaways from the pandemic, because I think it caught a lot of entrepreneurs off guard, right? They probably were not prepared for a pandemic, let alone a recession or housing market crash. And so I just want to talk about some of the lessons that some entrepreneurs had to learn the hard way, right? If you didn't qualify for EIDL or PPP, it's probably because of one of these reasons. So number one, if your business is shut down, entrepreneurs still have expenses, right? Maybe you still have insurance. Maybe you still have your rent, right? I know a salon owner, their landlord didn't care that the COVID shut down their business. They still wanted to pay, they still wanted their rent, right? So entrepreneurs still had expenses, even though their main source of revenue may have been taken away. A lot of entrepreneurs just simply were not prepared. Some of them don't have their entity set up or have the wrong entity set up, right? A sole proprietorship offers you the least amount of protection from a tax and legal standpoint. A lot of entrepreneurs did not have their bookkeeping in order, right? Not having their tax returns done, not having their bookkeeping, their cash flow statements, not paying themselves, not paying their employees, kind of just like the lady talked about earlier today. A lot of entrepreneurs didn't have insurance. And you guys know with the pandemic, there was a lot of violence with the protest that was going on with George Floyd and all of that. Some entrepreneurs did not have insurance in place to help them if their business was vandalized. A lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning didn't take advantage of some of these programs that the government were offering, right? Remember when EIDL first came out, right? 2 weeks later, the first amount of EIDL was gone, right? The first wave of it was gone in 2 weeks or less. People trying to wait around and see if it's real. We also learned that the smaller institutions was more helpful to small businesses than bigger businesses, right? For example, I know some banks that would not do a paycheck protection application if your payroll wasn't 40,000 a month or more, right? So some of these bigger banks were looking out for their bigger customers, obviously, because they some of them got money off of that. But a lot of the smaller institutions were there for small businesses like PayPal or credit unions and Lendio and different institutions like that. We also learned that we need to pivot, right? If you had one main source of revenue, maybe you were a restaurant and 90% of your business was, people sitting down and eating as opposed to carry out, or you're a barbershop and you only make money from cutting hair, right? What did you do when you were ordered to shut down? So we learned that we need to have additional sources of income. We also learned that credit and cash flow are king. Those who had credit and cash flow in place, great credit, was still able to get access to capital. But at the end of the day, we still needed more access to capital, right? So my biggest key takeaway is make sure your business is positioned to get funding. A lot of times we complain about minorities not having the same opportunities when it comes to lending and funding opportunities, but sometimes we don't set ourselves up the proper way so that we can take advantage of funding opportunities. Right. So I just wanted to go over that. So here's how I want you to look at business credit, right? What is your contingency plan? If we were to have another recession, housing market crash, another pandemic of some sort, is your business in position to continue to move forward? Right? You can use business credit that's not linked to your social, right? Sometimes your business can get approved for things when you personally cannot get approved for things, right? I had a person in my program who filed a personal bankruptcy, but they were able to get a $10,000 MasterCard with no PG, right? So I'm sure there were a lot of entrepreneurs out there that wish they could have tapped into like an emergency line of credit instead of, maxing out personal funds. So here's how I want you to see business credit. Basically, it's really, really critical for your business. Every entrepreneur should have business credit. Doesn't matter if you've been in business 20 years or 1 year, right? Everybody should have it. And I want you to think of it as having multiple lifelines of liquidity available when your company needs it, right? Maybe you need to purchase some inventory or do some marketing, right? You can do those things with business credit. So I'm just going to break this down really quickly. Business credit is credit that is in a business name. That's all it is. Credit that is in a business name. So just like on the personal side, when you have your personal profile, you got your student loans or your mortgage or your, different things in your name, you pay those bills and you get a score. With the personal credit bureaus, business credit works the same way. It has its own profile. You establish some things in your business name, and when you pay those bills, your business gets a score, right? On the business side, scores go from 350 to 850. On the business side, they go from 0 to 100, with 80 being the score that you want, which is equivalent to like a 700 on the personal side. And one of the greatest things about business credit is it's not really factored like personal credit. You know how you have utilization and inquiries and those 5 different factors that make up your personal score. Well, on the business side, 80% of that score is driven by how fast you pay your company invoices, right? So the scoring is a little bit different. But in some cases, when the business has enough credit in its company name, then the business can qualify for things with no PG, for things like cars, right? Some people may want a company car in their company name that they don't have to do a personal guarantee for, or maybe they want a Visa or a MasterCard without that, right? A lot of times people will say, oh, I went to fill out this business credit card and they asked for my social. Well, they're going to do that because your business credit report doesn't have anything on it, right? So if the business doesn't have any credit for them to evaluate you on, they're going to default to the personal, right? So business credit is really, really important. And the biggest reason that it's important is because one day you may run out of your own funds, right? You may max out every card that you have, deplete your savings in your checking account. You may go through everything that you got and still need money. So you're going to need to access some capital outside of yourself or purchase some goods on credit. And with business credit reports, the reports are public, right? So it's not like the personal side. You got to give somebody a personal social security number to pull your report. Anybody can pull your business credit report at any time. And so it's really, really important to make sure that you've taken the steps to establish your credit, because this is what lenders, bankers, investors, this is what they look at to determine whether that you're a good candidate for them to lend money to, right? So if you don't have a profile, typically you're starting off with a low or a failing score on the business side. So simply put, business credit, your report is a track record of your financial responsibilities. This is what investors, bankers, and customers use to determine whether or not your business is a good business to lend money to or to do business with. All right. So a lot of times people don't even take the steps to set their business up the proper way or start to build out their business credit, and they don't even realize that you're missing out on opportunities for lack of doing so. Sometimes bankers will pull reports each month and be like, okay, pull a list of businesses that have an 80 paydex score or higher, and let's send them some funding opportunities. Well, if you haven't taken the steps to set up your profile and establish your score, you are already missing out, right? So it's really, really important that you take the steps to build out your business credit. So I'm going to get into the 5 reasons why I love business credit and then break down the 2 different ways to get it. So number 1, does it require a personal credit score or personal guarantee, right? In some cases. So what that means is if you have bad personal credit, your business can still qualify for credit, right? So maybe you had a bankruptcy, a judge, a lien, collection, foreclosure, right? And sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes you might lose a job and that can affect your credit, or you go through a divorce, or you're in the hospital for several months and you can't pay your bills. All of that can affect your score, right? So the good thing is if you separate your business from you personally and take the time to establish your profile and your score, then the business can start to qualify for things, even if your personal credit isn't the best. Now, do I recommend, just focusing on that? No, I always tell people you want to work on your personal credit and have good business credit so you qualify for funding on both sides. You typically get higher limits when it comes to business credit cards. So Chase might personally give you $5,000, but they might give your business $30,000, right? So the banks know that businesses need more liquidity than individuals. And so when you do that, you can have money to play with on the personal side and the business credit side, right? And that doubles your purchase power. Another thing that I love about business credit, if you get the business credit cards that only report to the Business Credit Bureau, then it's not going to show up on your personal. And I'll give you an example. When we used to do our real estate deals, we would use business credit cards to do the rehab. We would use it to purchase materials from Home Depot and Lowe's. And we would use it to pay contractors and subcontractors. And so with us doing that, sometimes you have to max out those cards. When we did it on business credit cards, then it's not going to show up on our personal. So it won't make our utilization go up and our score drop, right? And so again, if you have business credit cards that report to the Business Credit Bureau and does not show up on the personal, then you could do things like that, right? If you have to max out a card. On the personal side, if you do it, yeah, your score is going to drop. You know what I mean? Your utilization will go up and lenders don't want to give you money, right? So basically, if the business have enough credit in the business name, then the business can qualify for things like, equipment financing loans or like I said, cars, trucks, different things like that without a personal guarantee. If you know how to do it, you do it the right way. 2 ways of getting business credit. There's a fast way and there's a slow way. Trying to get this lighting together here. All right, so there are 2 ways to build it. There is a fast way and a slow way. The fastest way to get access to business credit is if you want to leverage great personal credit to do so, right? You can get up to $250K within 2 weeks. That typically is 0% interest, anywhere from 6 to 12 months. These cards can be reported to the business credit bureaus. And the great thing about this is you don't have to be seasoned. So just like that bank example, when she was talking about being in business 2 years, having $250K in gross revenue and business tax returns, you don't need any of that if you want to leverage personal credit to obtain business credit cards, right? And I'm going to tell you exactly what lenders look for in order for you to qualify for that. And this is how I did it when I got my 40K, only being in business 2 months, right? And then there's a slower way, which you could do with your EIN, right? Which doesn't require a personal credit check, personal guarantee, and the business could start to qualify for things in the company name. So this is what lenders look for if you want to leverage great personal credit to obtain business credit cards in 2 weeks. So they typically want a 700 score across all 3 credit bureaus, right? So make sure that you're not using Credit Karma, use Identity IQ, MyFICO, something like that. Strong profile, right? The profile is more important than the score. They want no bankruptcies, no foreclosures, no liens, no collections, no judgments, right? Or those things happened years ago, you've reestablished your credit since then, and your score is fine, right? I had a person who filed a bankruptcy some years ago. She's reestablished her credit since then. She was able to get up to 60K, right? Credit card minimum. You need at least 5,000 in credit card limits. And the reason that that is important is because you will typically qualify for 3 to 5 times what you currently have in limits. Inquiries, no more than 6 inquiries per bureau for the last 2 years. So if you went to a car dealership and they shopped your credit to a bunch of lenders and you got a bunch of inquiries, you got to get that stuff removed before you qualify for this. They want at least 3 years of credit history, and the utilization has to be under 30%, and they don't really factor in any authorized users. So this is what lenders look for if you want to leverage personal credit to obtain business credit cards. So as long as you have these requirements and your entity is set up, then you can qualify for that. They're not looking at tax returns, income, revenue, or anything like that. And this is the way that I did it, right? So that's something that we help with. The other way is the business checkbook line of credit. And this is more like the bank example that the CPA talked about earlier. You can get a business checkbook line of credit, but this is where they want you to have the 700 score, be in business 2 years, and have 250K in gross revenue, right? So I know I've done a lot of talking. Any questions about that so far? And then I'll speed this up. Omar, am I okay on time?
Yeah, you good. I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but you're good.
Cool. All right, so funding options. So if you are interested in getting the business credit cards in 2 weeks or less, typically it's up to 150K for new entrepreneurs and up to 250K for established entrepreneurs. You can scan this QR code and you can take a free assessment to determine how much you would qualify for. There's no cost to do this, and there is no inquiry, because when you pull your own credit report and score, it is a soft pull. And within 24 to 48 hours, we would know how much you qualify for. So again, this is something that my company helps with, help you obtain funding up to 250K in 2 weeks or less. I have a client right now that's up to 243,000, and we got one more lender to go through. His pre-approval came back at up to 300K. All right. So again, remember that number is based on current credit card limits. It's 3 to 5 times what you currently have in limits. Okay. There are other funding opportunities. There are business credit cards. There are personal term loans that you pay back in 3, 5, or 7 years. You can get up to 300K with that. There's revolving lines of credit. So you don't always have to bootstrap it, based on what you got. You can leverage great personal credit. Of course, there's pros and cons to doing so. You definitely want to make sure you have a plan in place so that you're leveraging this the proper way. But if you have more questions about this, you can always go to our website and schedule a funding consultation. All right, so that's the fast way, is leveraging great personal credit. The slower way is to do it with your EIN. And so you start off with the credibility steps, right? That's making sure that your business is set up the proper way to meet lender and creditor guidelines, right? Sometimes business credit applications are denied for the smallest things. You know, maybe your business address is a PO box or FedEx store, right? Lenders don't like that. Maybe your company name and address doesn't match with Secretary of State and EIN, right? Apostrophes, periods, abbreviations, all that stuff have to be consistent across the board. Or maybe you're not listed in the 411 directory. You know, believe it or not, some lenders still look for that. So there's 10 steps to make sure that your business is set up the proper way to meet lender guidelines, right? You don't want to get denied because they couldn't verify your business address or something small like that. So you want to make sure your business is set up the proper way. Once you have that set up in place, there's 4 tiers of building business credit with your EIN. So most people like to jump to tier 4, which you cannot jump to tier 4. You cannot just start out the gate and get a car in your company name. You got to have some business credit history. You got to have some trade lines. You got to have some payment history. Got to have some payment experiences. So you start off with tier 1, right? Tier 1 are smaller vendors that will give you small lines of credit within their business. So I'm sure some of you have heard of, Uline and Granger. Those are some of the starter accounts that will give you a line of credit that you can use in their business with no personal credit check and no personal guarantee, right? So you get a few of those in tier 1. They're small accounts. Some people might say, hey, why do I got to spend $50 on office supplies? I don't need this. Well, because maybe later on you want to get a car in your company name and you don't want to PG it. So you always got to look at the longer picture. Let's see, does somebody have a comment or a question? Okay, Lindsay said, I have a 777, only 5% utilization, but 8 inquiries. A few fell off between now and February. Is that a no hard on your program? No, it's not a no hard. Now, I do know someone that does inquiry removal. And because I don't do personal credit repair, I only do business credit. So when people need help, I refer them to a credit repair person and they can help get the inquiries off. So it's not having 8 inquiries is not an automatic no. But if you can get 2 of those removed before you apply, that'll be better. All right. So sorry about that. Any other questions, just let me know. So you start off with tier 1, which is the smaller vendors. It's not the sexy credit, right? But then you work your way up to tier 2 and tier 3, right? That's where you get the higher revolving type of commercial lines of credit, like 5,000, 10,000. 15,000, places like Amazon, places like, Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, different places like that, Walmart, Sam's Club. You get higher revolving types of credit, right? And once you get enough of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 on your report with a good business credit score, right? Then the business will have enough credit in the company's name to qualify for things without personal guarantee, right? So business credit is what leads to business funding, right? It's a process. It takes time, right? Lenders, I would say industry experts say it takes a year or longer. And I only say it could take that long if you don't know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know the process, you don't know what vendors report to the Bureau, then yeah, it can take a while. But I show people how to do it in 3 to 6 months. All right, so we talked about doing it with the EIN. And let me guys know if you have any questions about that. And I know I'm going through this pretty quickly because our time is limited. But here are some things where you can use business credit as a competitive advantage. Number 1, 90% of the general population know nothing about it, right? So once you do, you can use that to your advantage. It is a lot easier to grow when you have credit than when you don't. You can do things like advertising or, other things without putting your personal credit at risk. So basically, business credit is not just for big businesses, right? A lot of companies think that it's just for big businesses. It's not. Any company, any size can build business credit. It's just that big companies, they typically hire the CFOs who know how to obtain it and how to use it, whereas most entrepreneurs don't, right? So you can absolutely do the same thing. You just got to know the formula. So how do big businesses use it? If you look here, 46% of big businesses, and I'm talking about companies like Walmart, Facebook, Microsoft, all of them have business credit, right? And I kind of took those slides out. Walmart has like 513 trade lines on their Experian business credit report, right? So they're definitely using it to help them get as big as they are today. So 46% of big businesses use business credit for new plant equipment. 19% use it for expansion. 19% use it to maintain their workforce. They also use it to hire new employees, research and development, increase inventory or increase the number of employees or compensation or benefits, right? So just look at your business and how would you use business credit, right? The goal is to use it to make more money, right? Not bad debt. You want to use it for good debt, right? I'll tell you about how do I use it in my business, right? My business is digital products and services, right? So I use it to hire staff. My assistant, I use business credit to pay her. Vehicles, one of my passive income streams is cars on Turo. So I use it for that. Right now, I use it for advertising. I am running Facebook and Instagram ads right now for my next webinar. So you can, regardless of what type of business you have, what type of industry you're in, you can use business credit to grow and scale, just like these big companies do. So before you start the process of building business credit, you want to make sure you set yourself up to meet lender guidelines. Like that is the most important thing. If you don't set yourself up the right way, you get a lot of denied applications, right? And so we have programs to show people how to do this. So before I end tonight, I am just putting this up there for my next webinar, which is going to be next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But I am having a business credit and funding webinar, and we talk about these things in a little bit more detail. So if you want to register or join the next webinar, you can scan the QR code in the top right, and that'll take you to the email list, and you'll get the registration information for the next webinar. So just wanted to know if you guys had any questions.
All right. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I do have one question. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So you mentioned something about, and maybe, so much information out there. So when applying for business credit, you're not able to use like a UPS store, how they have those mailboxes?
Yes. Okay. So I'm not saying that you can't do that, right? What I'm saying is you want to look like a big business, even though you may be a small business, right? You want to look at yourself the way lenders look at you, right? When they are doing their research on you, right? When they're Googling your business, do you want them to see a FedEx store or UPS store? Do you want them to see your house? Right? Lenders don't want to see that. That's the first sign to them that you're not a big business, right? Some lenders, even bank statements, sometimes banks don't even like PO boxes when it comes to the physical address for your business. So it's all about making sure you look like a big business, even though you may not be, right? And so you can get a virtual office. There's a lot of virtual offices. When it comes to addresses, they want something that's in a commercially zoned area. They want it to have a physical deliverable address. And when they Google you, it's a virtual office is a nice building, right? If they ever come out to see you, which they never do. They do that sometimes for grants to verify your business address, but it's a building. It has a receptionist in there. You don't have to be present, right? It gives your business a nice professional image. So can you use that? You could, but it's not what lenders like to see, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And I don't see Dr. Lucas on, because that's what she does with her co-working space. She has these mailboxes, but people are able to use the street address, and they have a receptionist up front as well.
Absolutely. And that's perfect. That is an example of a great virtual address that people can use. In every state have different virtual offices or co-working spaces that they can use for a business address. And those virtual offices have a lot of benefits. Sometimes they have receptionists, sometimes they have answering service, sometimes they can give you phone numbers and fax, they can deliver mail, they can mail it to you, you can get packages accepted, you can rent out meeting space and rooms. So there's a lot of great benefits to having a virtual address.
All right, good deal. All right, thank you for that. Any other questions? I don't see any in here. All right, well, there's no other questions. Thank you, LaToya. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, so I want to really thank all of the panelists that we've had here today. I'm just going to read off my list so I don't miss out on anybody. Darren Swain, Leah Williams, Tiana Walla, Aisha Hoy, Michael Bazemore, Dr. Tamara Lucas, Kavette Minor King, Lindsay Pill, and of course, LaToya Jackson. I want to thank you all for coming on to the first annual HBCU Alumni Business Summit. And of course, I want to thank all of the attendees for participating as well. I really appreciate you spending this time with us. I mean, you could have been doing a whole lot of other things, but you decided to come here to feed your mind and develop some relationships so that we can begin to build our businesses stronger, as well as build our HBCUs as well. So before we leave, I do have an ask. Latoya, can you stop sharing your screen? I want to go
Yep.
to, thank you. I want to go to something real quick. So, we do have an ask. Actually, I'm gonna copy this first. So a couple asking. Ebony, let me know if I missed something. Of course, follow us on social media. That's where I was going. I got distracted, y'all. Let me know if y'all can see. There we go. Can y'all see the screen? No. Ebony, you can see it. Okay. All right. So follow us on social media. Here's our social media handles. Join our mailing list. So we do have a mailing list that we send out some information about events that are upcoming. Share it with others. So if you know anybody that's or any other alum who are HBCU or supporters, because although it says HBCU by association, listen to what it's saying. HBCU by association. You associated with an HBCU. You have friends, family members who have gone to an HBCU, so we want them as well. We also are looking for advisory board members. As Ebony and I are growing this entity, we want to be able to. We want to have people that can give us some direction. So I mentioned Leah from Dell State is on our advisory board. And what we're looking for are representatives who are already in the schools, meaning that these are officers at HBCU alumni associations. So I'm just gonna put it out there, Darren and Tiana. If you want to be part of it, just let us know. We are also looking for individuals to be part of the co-author. So I'm gonna put that in the chat. So if you're interested, there's a link. I just put the link tree in there. If you're interested in being part of that, please do that. And, let's partner. Let's partner to bring HBCU by association to HBCUs around the country. Although we're based in Maryland, this is for all of the HBCUs, 100. I think it's still 107 HBCUs. So we want to be able to go around the country with what we're doing as it relates to entrepreneurship. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Ebony, any final thoughts for you?
Tiana, you have been called out. Valerie has nominated you to be a part of the advisory board. I just want to thank everyone that participated both as a panelist and as a guest. This was something that Omar and I said we were going to do. We put a date on the calendar, and we are overjoyed at the turnout and the information and the resources that were provided. I learned a few things myself here, so that's always great. We have so many exciting things coming. So please, like Omar said, join our mailing list, check our website frequently, follow us on social media so that you can be in the loop, and each one reach one. So tell your friends and your alumni partners about HBCU by association. And we're always looking for feedback. So please look for a survey from us over the next few days. And if you would take 2 to 3 minutes and fill it out just to let us know what you thought of tonight's summit, what you'd like to see going forward, and if in any way you would like to participate.
Absolutely. And we're still going to do we're going to bring back the HBCU Daily Grind, but we're going to kind of do it differently. So those 3 areas that we talked about, we're going to have work, play, and learn. So we'll do it in our show in which we'll still focus on the HBCU alum entrepreneur, but we'll throw some fun things in there with play, and then we'll do some other things as it relates to learning. So kind of those three combined efforts there. So look out for that as well. So again, I want to thank everybody who participated in this extraordinary event. I'm saying this is history making, because we're gonna make this an organization that really helps HBCU alum and those associated with HBCUs find the best in them. So thank you for coming on board, and we're going to give you 30 minutes back to your day. So thank you, panelists, for making sure that we completed at 30 minutes early. So like Tiana want to say something. Boy, you want to say something?
No, I just decided to show my face since we're closing out.
Yeah, all the panelists, come on. Yes.
Darren raised his hand. Darren, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Darren, you have to come on so we can take a group photo. Yeah.
Well, no, I've already transformed. I had to run out. As you can see, I'm on my so I do not have my panelist attire on right now. So
man, I don't change twice, man.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you, I am not gonna come back on the camera right now because it's not that. But look, I just wanted to this is funny, is to say that to just thank you guys. This is great. I just think that we have to figure out how to keep it going and how to really infuse some more and get more folk involved with it and figure out how to really make it, the more that we can make it passive in terms of how people can participate without thinking and acting too much, it would be good. So anyway, I just want to say thank you. It was great.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate you. All right. Anyone else? Anyone else before we close out in 3 minutes? All right. So, all right. All right, we good to go? Hearing none? No questions, no comments? I appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you all. Thank you. Take
Good
care,
night.
everybody. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You start recording.